Good evening. Welcome to the Groton Board of Education special meeting being held on February the 3rd, 2025 at Central Office, being held in person and by Zoom. Tonight we have at our meeting coming in the door, the fabulous Michael Whitney. He's taking his seat right now. Look at Clint dusting off his seat. We have Matt Schulman's in attendance, Jen White, Dr. Adrian Ackerman, Andrea, my bad, Andrea Ackerman, Adrian Johnson, Ian. We have Denise Doolittle, Superintendent Susan Austin, Lori Lapine, and Anne Marie, Assistant Superintendent, and Jay is online. So, and Ray is online also. So the order, and Dean is not in attendance today. He'll be here on Wednesday. The first order of business on the agenda is the town obligations.
Could I start for our budget work session, just to orient everyone of the materials that we have in front of us?
Okay.
As you know, I had sent the packet after, based on the board's feedback from the last meeting, we were able to make a current book for FY '26 aligned with adjustments made for FY '25 that mirror what the approved budget was in all areas. And we're going to explain a little bit about what we found and how we were able to make those adjustments. And I actually sent that out. I called it a tracker. There was a tracker for FY '25 and a tracker for FY '26. You received a whole new budget book for '26 that had that approved budget for '25, so we could more easily look from FY '25 to FY '26. And so I just explained that for the FY '25, we were able to look at personnel that was misplaced. It was put in non-classified, and it was really the two coordinators. I don't know if you remember last year when we had to make the decision about cuts, and two of them were from the administrative ranks. And it was a coordinator for special education 6 through 12 and a coordinator for humanities. And they were really $140 each. It was in both the teacher.
140,000.
140,000, thank you, dollars each. And half of their position was in the teacher rank and half was in the administrator rank. So that's where we were able to find that. And then we were, with very careful, diligence, we just moved. I think there were about 15 items. We also sent you something that was, let me see what I called that, the FY '25 to e-finance update audit, because we had to make sure that what we were putting in the book was matching the e-finance system, which we use, so that that we would have it accurately. So that work was done as well. But we really wanted the FY '25 to mirror what the approved budget was, and that was our goal, and that's what we did. So, so you did receive some things hard copy. You also received it digitally. Some people like it more digitally, but now you should have really whole books. And if you have any questions about the book and how it lays out, just let me know and we can help organize. Joyce has been wonderful. The whole team has really done their due diligence to make sure this is smooth sailing. So with that, did we want to talk about the tracker? Was there anything else that you wanted to share? Lori has been really working side by side with Ray, with our new staff member who has really been able to, with his finance degree, done a really good job getting these budgets ship shape.
Sure. So I'll just add in regards to the FY '26 budget revisions document. We created this so that as we move forward, if we make any adjustments in meetings to what's in the superintendent's proposed budget, we'll add it to this FY '26 tracker sheet. So that way everybody can clearly see any adjustments that are being made.
And you'll be seeing it in live time. We can even put it on a Google Doc. So there's no confusion.
Yeah.
All right.
So that
That's
is
the goal.
clear. Like if we made any adjustments to what was presented, there'll be a full list here that everybody will be able to have access to.
That's the final sheet in the packet.
Yes. In the one I just handed you.
Yes. The one
And
that
then-
says FY 26 is the one that will maintain going forward for this budget year. FY 25 are the only adjustments to the original book, and that is because we could not take an adjusting entry in e-finance for this 280,000 without breaking it out where it should be. So we actually
Got it.
identified exactly which function codes it should have been applied to originally instead of being in a lump sum.
Okay.
So we broke down the lump sum, processing these adjustments. So this is everything that was done in the reconciliation document matches the book, the FY 25 book, other than these 4 line items. And that will stay in the record. There won't be any additional changes to that, obviously.
So,
Thank you. Laura.
anybody have any questions about that part? I mean, that was,
Okay.
all right. Well, I thank you for helping us with that.
And don't forget, if you have any questions, when we're not at a meeting, just email Susan with your questions so she can hopefully have the answers ready at the next meeting or the following meeting after the next meeting.
Right.
Okay?
And the frequently asked questions, we reviewed them on Friday, but we will continue to review them. So as those come in, I know Adrian's been a big help getting those to me. So thank you.
Yep.
So going to town obligations, I think we had mentioned early in this process that for property, we have insurances, on the property and, we've been given, they've steadily increased by about 10%. So they're trying to get them to match up with our new properties that we have so that we're paying our fair share. And, so we have that obligation. We also have the OPEB obligation. And Lori, do you want to just orient us with that? Because I know that this year, we are not paying into it, but next year we need to pay into it. So,
Yeah, that's correct. So just a couple line items I'll touch on in relation to the health insurance. We don't have a firm renewal yet. We don't anticipate we'll have one before the board has to vote. So what we've done at this point is we've taken Anthem's preliminary projection, which is not firm. And we feel it's a little bit conservative. We're hopeful it's going to come in a little bit lower. And then we've also accounted for the OPEB contribution that we're going to have to make this year. So that's what we built the health insurance line item on. And then similar with workers' comp and health pension, those are items that we share with the town. Those renewals are not available either. They don't anticipate having those available until probably March. So we've taken a small increase on that line. Don't know where it's going to come in, but we have put a very nominal increase on that line as well.
and the
Around
town,
2%.
remind me, the town retirements were in the HR and superintendents and now we split those up, right? Are they still? Were they with
The
me or
town
they with you?
pension is split between
pension.
2 function codes.
Okay.
That's correct. The business office and the superintendent's line.
Okay.
So it's split in half. I believe that's the way it's always been done. And then with liability insurance. that-
Where are you looking?
I'm
Laura?
sorry, I'm looking at the budget summary document,
The page.
page 2-3, section 2.
Page.
Sorry, can you say that again?
2-3.
Lori, though, we won't find out about OPEB until the end of the month.
Probably March as well.
Yeah.
April. So we won't have any of those renewals before the.
Right, yeah, because I spoke with John and that's what he told me at the end of the month.
But we're confident that we put enough in there to cover us, but we could actually take. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
okay,
think we know.
Okay.
All right, so the last item I was gonna touch on was liability and property insurance on line 31. We do have in there what we believe is an adequate amount for our annual premium plus the additional 10% cost shift from the town to the board. It appears it was a bit overstated last year, so that's why you're seeing a little bit of a negative adjustment, but So I think we'll get a better sense this year, once we see the renewal, what that looks like, but we didn't take it down too much because we wanted to be sure we took into account the additional 10% cost share that we needed to pick up on the board side.
Any questions about the liability and property insurance?
So we would know these by May, is that correct?
Yeah, I anticipate we're gonna know in March or April.
Okay.
I would just add, certainly if we get anything any sooner, we will definitely share that out.
Okay. Jay, you have a question?
Yeah, I just want to get back to OPEB again for a minute. Lori, can you just direct us to the line where you're projecting the OPEB portion?
I believe it's under the health insurance line, line
10.
10.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so accounts 201, 202.
Mm-hmm.
That's correct.
Oh,
That's
I
correct.
see. Okay. All right. So this is there's no way for us to break out um, the um, the lines for the active versus the OPEB. I'm just curious. We have last year's actuarial report, so I'm just curious what the methodology was. Did we take last year's actuarial report and attempt to calculate this year using some factor of inflation or history?
Yeah, yes, I believe they did, but let me, Jay, what I'll do is I'll go back and see if we can split that out for you, the group.
Yeah, because there's one thing with Anthem, but then the town does receive the report, and it gives us the actuarially determined OPEB contribution. And so while I know the final report apparently hasn't been prepared, I'm just wondering what financially is the standard for trying to extrapolate this year from last year. So
Okay.
I
All right.
personally would appreciate any more detail we can get about that line.
Sure, we'll be happy to put
Okay.
something together.
Okay, thank you.
Else,
Oh.
Lori?
Anything else? No. Ian?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, so will it be a deeper breakout in the line, in the function codes for the health insurance? Or, because it sounds like there's two different things happening inside the health insurance line. We have the OPEB and the Anthem. So this is the object code page, so this is the bigger view, like more things wrapped under the umbrella.
Right.
So in the function codes, do we see a breakout of health insurance and OPEB? Where it's more delineated?
I will have to check on that. I don't know if they can split out in the function document, but we can certainly provide some backup detail
Okay,
to the object code summary.
thank you.
Jen?
Did I hear correctly that
Jen.
we aren't, oh,
Good to you.
did I hear correctly that we're not gonna fund OPEB? Or did you say that during your presentation?
No, we
No, no.
accounted for funding it.
Oh, you did account,
Yes.
okay, just wanted to make sure, because I think last year we did
Last
not.
year we did not.
Right,
but
Right.
this
that's what I
Okay.
was saying, we have to.
Yeah,
next
we
year.
have.
We
to this
have-
year.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Lori? Ian?
And just a question on the property insurance, the adjustment for this, the district taking on more of the payment from the town. Is that reflected in this number?
It is. When we looked at it, looked like last year's number was a bit overstated.
Mm.
If you look at the actual FY24 spend. So we have taken that into account, but we can provide some more detail on that as well if you'd like.
I think there was a chart that came from the town manager that showed kind of a gradual thing to get us to where we're taking on our portion of these newer schools. That's why it's costing the town more because of the newer schools.
So I'm looking at the FY 25 budget. Right,
Mhm.
it says 623,997.
Mhm.
And then, so we're projecting a decrease in that?
If you look at the FY 24 spend, it was considerably less, so I think it was overstated last year. That's what we believe. So that's why we didn't take a significant reduction, but we did take a small reduction. We thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, if there's a document that explains like how that's gonna be staggered out over the time.
Okay, sure. We'll see what we can put together. Yep.
Susan.
All righty. So I'm gonna move to Denise. She was able to do quite a bit the last time she was with us, but we went through so that she can kind of complete it's actually special services and special education. And so I think we're gonna start on page 560 in the functions. That's correct. And she's gonna walk us through, and if you have any questions,
Thank you, Susan. So 560 is function 1280, and it's for our teacher of the hearing impaired who works K through 12. There.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We have one teacher of the hearing impaired who teaches students who have an IEP because of a hearing impairment. She does also teach one class of American Sign Language at Fitch High School. And the budget is fairly straightforward. There is an increase in employee benefits. And that's pretty much the driver for this budget. She does have some funds in line 735, instructional equipment. Oftentimes, students who have a hearing impairment benefit from what we call amplification equipment, which is actually all Bluetooth and wireless at this point, so it's quite costly. The teacher wears a microphone and the teacher's voice is transmitted to the student's hearing aids, what we call boots that fit on the hearing aid. So we also have funds for this equipment in the IDEA grant. So we supplement this account for equipment in the grant
and repair of.
and repair as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Denise, if I look at the account 201, the group insurance, and in FY 25, it's 0, but in this year, it's 22,946. Why was it 0 last year? And why is it so much for one employee?
I'm not sure about that, Bev. I'll have to get back to you on that.
It's just, can I?
It's split out, yeah.
I think my understanding, and I think Ray's online, but he can correct me, is I believe with the group insurance, it's like a calculation where it just apportions it across all the functions. So I don't think it ties specifically to the individuals in that function per se.
Would make sense.
Ray might have a better understanding of the calculation, but that's my understanding, is it just gets apportioned.
Did we
It's
also
spread across.
last year have both of the, we had 2 teachers of the deaf who also taught ASL. And then I think one is now teaching full ASL and she's on the world language department. And so I think were they once together in that department and now because of their,
No,
yeah.
it's just, it's just a calculation.
all right.
This is how it's spread across.
Okay.
all the functions.
Yeah, the other teacher of the deaf, as Susan indicated, teaches American Sign Language full-time. Last year, there was only the one teacher who
Okay.
services the students with
Okay.
IEPs.
So we had split it out last year. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Can you find out what happened in FY 25, why it's 0?
We can find out. Yep.
There's a chance she may not have taken healthcare last year, but put in for it now.
Ah, okay.
I
Thank you,
mean,
Ray.
there's a chance we could investigate, but that would be probably a good possibility. But
Okay,
I will say this, Lori is correct. It's normally spread across most all function codes. It should have been equalized across the function codes.
Mike?
So I'm just trying to understand, I've got they call them the colorful site pages up
Mhm.
front, which I like a lot. For Fitch, it says, hearing impaired too. And,
One is ASL.
okay,
Yeah, they both have that certification, hearing impaired
Okay.
teaching certification.
okay, gotcha. And so the
It's not
numbers,
two full FTEs though of,
Yeah. ASL is a really popular elective.
oh, yes, it certainly is. I can see why too. For these colorful site pages, are these numbers, it doesn't really say, are these current numbers, what's in the budget? I couldn't tell that. Did they
you know,
match
they've
up
been
somewhere?
aligned and re-examined very closely to make sure they're.
For the actuals for this current year? So this is what's currently, and then it may or may not be the same as what's being proposed
But we're not adding anything.
in this case.
Yes.
Yes, those two teachers of the hearing impaired, one is coded to 1280.
Yeah.
And the other is coded to world language.
Gotcha.
So I'm sorry, it's not an elective, it's a world language.
Thank you.
You done, Mike?
Yep.
Okay, Jen?
I thought, I don't know if it was a meeting or 2 meetings ago, you had mentioned that, with the hearing impaired deaf, like we're fully, refunded or
That's teacher of the blind.
teacher of the blind, not
Teacher of the
deaf.
blind, yep.
Okay.
The state has a division called Services for the Blind.
Hmm.
And if you elect to have the state provide the teacher of the blind to your school district, they will do that
Okay, not
Without a
deaf.
charge.
with no charge.
Yes, that's what I was trying to understand, like if this was no charge, but it's blind.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Denise, next. Oh, Matthew.
I'm still trying to understand the employee benefits piece. I thought employee benefits was almost formulaic. You earn X dollars and you pay Y dollars for Social Security and Z dollars for FICA. And I just don't grasp that. It's quote, only $20,000, but it's a lot of money.
Yeah, I think Lori had indicated earlier that this dollar amount doesn't necessarily tie to that individual. That the cost of the employee health insurance has been distributed throughout the budget.
Would you give a little thought, looking ahead next year? You used the word apportioned. I would say it was equalized, divided into equal segments, about actually apportioning it if we have, so that we can really see the costs that go for each number. Is
Well,
that
that's something that the business manager.
Is that something that's feasible for next year?
We can look into it. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, Denise, moving on.
All right. So we're going to, we're going to quickly talk about, the next page, which is, Fitch high school completion. This is the adult education program. There's actually no changes. You can see with the FTEs at the top and, their budget. There's quite a few reductions, in terms of their budget. So this is pretty much status quo from last year, from this year to next year.
This is the program where students at 17 basically opt to do night school and they do graduate with our kids on the field and they do get a diploma. And we've been pretty proud to have 12 to 20 kids each year participate in that. There is a grant provided by the state for $79,000, which does come to the town. And I think it's in our revenue source to help support this in our operation budget.
Do they take classes with New London Adult Ed or?
So
they-
that's going to be the next portion of the adult ed program.
Yep. That's
So they are actually at Fitch High School. We have 2 of our own teachers who are administering the program, and we have our own teachers who teach in the program. And, have had some real successes to get kids to graduate with a diploma from Fitch.
So they actually located at Fitch High School?
They're right at Fitch. They used to be at West Side, and that was very convenient. We've
remember
talked
that.
about that.
Mhm.
They could walk.
But there's, it's an elementary now and the seats are little.
Yeah.
So that was very accessible for our community.
So in FY 25, they needed a principal, I take it, and then FY 26, it's zeroed out.
I think that might be because of the grant funding. Is that correct? Sorry, what? The staff, there's a lot of decreases. Is that because the funds are being paid for through a grant?
Oh, yeah. Exactly. I think as long as the grant covers it, they probably zeroed it out, but I'll double check on that.
Okay. Ian,
Do we know the name of the grant that covers it?
Yeah, it's the adult education grant
Coming from the state?
coming from the state, yep. CSDE, yep.
any other questions? Okay, moving along, Denise.
This is Adult Ed Part Two. This is the New London program.
Okay.
What's that, Susan?
So this is a program where people in Groton have full access to the New London program. And there is GED programs, ESL programs. I think they can either go to New London or some of the services are provided at Fitch at the night school program. And they can take enriching classes, gardening, cooking at a nominal fee. So you get this nice nifty little booklet from New London of all the different opportunities. So it's something that our families can take advantage of. And there's a grant that comes from the state in the amount of $207,000 that provides for this, nearly completely provides for this, service.
So are we get the grant every year?
Mhm.
And so with the $207,000 grant, we're gonna pay $210,000 this year?
Yeah, it's a money that basically we're the fiduciary, so we get the money in and we pay New London to do the
Ah,
service. Yeah,
All right. And how many students are in this program about?
I could find out.
I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
I could find out.
Adrian?
Yeah, does that grant come back to us or does that go to the town? Just because I feel like we had this discussion last year.
Ray, do you remember if this is one of those revenue sources that comes through the town to us?
99% of the grants go directly to, almost all funding goes directly to the town. It's rare for us. There are a few items that we receive the checks on, but I'm almost positive this one goes directly to the town.
But we very carefully assess the revenues, Ray.
Yeah.
And I know that we looked at it and revenue is up this year because we really monitored it to get it closer to what it actually is, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I guess if it does, all right, yeah, it actually says that program is paid to the state, received directly by the town.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I should have
That's
read
right,
that first.
that's
but thank
right.
you.
So this means that actually we're only paying like $3,000 for this program.
All right.
Okay.
You may not pay
Right.
anything because the
The grant.
79,000 is this year's number.
Oh, okay,
So when we report it to the state, we would report what we anticipate for FY 26.
okay.
Any questions? Okay,
I'm just gonna march right next door to the next page, Fitch High School Recovery. It's also an enrichment program. We have many.
what page is that?
This is the next page, 5/8/66,
Okay,
67,
this
and-
is says summer school.
summer school. And
Okay.
it's with the Apex program and real teachers teaching and tutors supporting kids. And I think it runs usually about 5 to 6 weeks. And this year, or last year, Peter Bass and the team at Groton Middle told the 8th graders that if they needed to recover credit because they failed a course, they were invited to attend and were asked to attend the Fitch High School program. And we had over a dozen kids from 8th grade who got their credit recovery. And I think it sets a message to have them ready when they get into the 9th grade. And many students do it. There were some students who, let's say, wanted to take Algebra 2, so they were taking geometry over the summer to get into the Algebra 2 at the year after Algebra 1. So there's lots of different opportunities for kids, not only to credit recovery, but to get ahead in their plan, so. And the next one is the Groton Middle School.
Wait, any
I'm
questions?
sorry.
Yeah.
Adrian?
That one, what, so the teacher salary, I guess it is, was budgeted at 69,000 this year and down to 40 next year. And it looks like we came up from 35. So do you know what that were we planning something that didn't happen this year?
I think it was just reset to what we had spent, the actuals that we spent in 24. Although it might have been just that influx of those eighth graders could have, and other kids could have added to it. So that's what the number was that they had predicted.
Yeah, they had
For-
worked up that number, and I would just share, I
In high
think we
school.
reduced the timing by a week this
Mhm.
past year, just to try and manage cost. Was it 1 week or 4 weeks? Yeah.
Oh, we went from 5
Yeah.
weeks to 4
We
weeks.
try and keep the cost as manageable as possible. And plus, I think Susan, you can comment, but I think the students start to kind of wane towards the end. of the
They do,
program.
and I think we had it Tuesday to Thursday, and the expectation was them to work on those off days, but they had a longer weekend, and I think the kids kind of were steadier in coming because they had a little bit more time on the weekend. But they were successful.
So I thought I did like this.
All right.
Okay, thank you. So if we had another 12 or similar number of eighth graders this year, would that drive up the costs beyond the 40,000 we budgeted? Or would that be able to accommodate them as well?
Small groups, so I think that they would be able to accommodate them.
And on Apex, so, yeah.
A lot of them do the work at home because it's an online program. So the purpose of the adults obviously is to support them with any difficulty that they're having.
Or instruction, yeah.
So this is all online. Okay.
Well, it's
It's like a
online and
hybrid.
small group, it's a hybrid. And the teachers do teach
Thank you.
in small groups.
Mike?
For this function code, and I guess the one before, so it has that code 123 summer school. Should there be anything in the FTE chart on the page before? I wasn't clear on that. It's not like it's 101 teachers or anything, but it might be how the pay structure goes.
Yeah, understand. Historically, we haven't captured FTEs for these programs because they're just such a short span of time. And they only work a few hours a day, so we haven't really captured the FTE per se. It's such a small amount of staffing for such a short amount of time.
Because that FTE would then go spread out over the whole year and it'd be
Right.
minimal.
Right.
So I had a similar question for, I think, enrichment programs, I think, and so it's that same sort of,
Correct.
okay.
I think that the people who've been running the programs, like Denise has overseen her summer school program. And so she kind of typically knows how many teachers will I need to hire in the different grade levels, how many social worker, so she's aware of what to hire, but it could vary.
Yeah, it is hard to quantify them as FTEs because they're only working 4 hours a day for 4 days a week. But we do report, the staffing to the state at the end of the summer program. We have to report it to the state. So it does get reported and we do, keep data, obviously.
Thanks.
You all set, Mike?
Yep.
Ian?
So the pay for the instructors comes from our budget, or is it coming from someplace else?
I believe this, for summer school credit recovery, I believe that comes from the board.
That's from us.
Not a
So,
grant.
so where, I guess I'm just kind of trying to range around. I understand like it doesn't signify to classify an FTE directly to this department. But maybe we can add a note in the narrative box of explaining where the instructors are being paid from. Like if it's another instructor that's already in the budget somewhere else that has ancillary duties to cover this.
They're all paid for in this.
Right
This
here.
is beyond their contracted time.
Yeah.
This isn't part of their contract.
They're paid right from this page.
Right, so that's their pay here.
Right.
Okay, so I guess I'm just, you have the pay attached, but no FTE attached. I guess maybe, I don't know.
Well, maybe you can give us like how many hours they work for the
Right.
summer.
And just
Yeah, we
make
could do that.
a note
Yeah.
that, it's someone else that's already in the system that's just picking this up.
Yeah, it's mostly internal staff.
Yeah.
But there are sometimes other retired people. Yeah.
To get out and, work a little bit in the summer, but
Totally.
still enjoy the day.
Hmm.
in the afternoon.
Yeah, just know that, to compensate for the fact that there's no FTEs assigned to it.
Yeah, we can do that.
So that we aren't just paying, there.
That's fine.
Where are your coffee cups? By the white
I'm
woman.
allergic to the room.
Huh?
Been here too long today.
I know that's true. You've got overtime. Groton Middle, are we ready for it? It's the next page,
One page. Thank you.
568. And this is basically a STEAM learning experience. They've had everything from drones and robotics to actual teaching of mathematics and tutoring and language arts and book studies. So they really make it and arts. So it's very STEAM-like. And they usually have about 100 students and I think a week or two.
Mm.
So
Yeah, they had in here 2 week summer program.
Any questions?
and again, those are usually your middle school teachers who want to be with the kids and have some fun and teach them at the same time.
Right. Doing ancillary duties during the summer.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And even some of our tutors and parents are there with them too.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna go Denise to your section that begins on 574. I'm skipping over Mark Romano's part because we've asked him to come in Wednesday to share with you the student activities and sports stipends. And this is your pupil personnel department.
Right. So we're also skipping over 572, which is legal services. Do you want to address that quickly, Susan?
Yeah, I could do that.
I have broken that out from, I think, superintendent. This is a new section of the budget.
Right. And I think we had talked about legal services for multiple things. Now do you have a legal service specifically to special ed?
It's all right here.
It's all in here.
34.
Okay. And then that would be the Floyd questions that we all might have. And you certainly have Bertram and Moses as well for special education negotiations.
Education.
Right.
And word.
The only reason it was 0 in FY 24 and 25 was because we've realigned it and put it in a different category.
Right.
So there were charges.
I think some of this
It
was
was under
under superintendent.
It was always, yeah, under me. And now we've got it. And it's got its own function under district-wide services.
So this was, if we were to add I'm sorry, I should have asked, but if we were to add the superintendent HR in this number, that was all in the same superintendent's category. Was there anything else that was moved out of that superintendent's category?
No,
Just those three.
we tried to separate our travel and some of that, and I think it got plopped in one of them and not the other, but we know we're sharing. I think, right? Was that the story? We're really trying to get it so that her department has what they need and my department is separated out. And it was always together and we figured it out, but. Yeah. All right.
Hey, Mike?
Yeah, just quickly, on the budget narrative for this one, it has legal services, I think, there. But I think it's worth saying, making a note that this was, previous years was in the superintendent's function code and it has been moved. I think there's something similar done for the HR that's been pulled out too. I think that's helpful.
Okay.
Mhm. Matthew,
Bev?
let Matthew go first and then you, Jay.
Thank you. I am curious as to what the expenditures for legal services were in 24 and what they're budgeted for 25. Did I miss that?
No, it's in the superintendent's budget.
Okay, I'll find.
Last year's superintendent's budget.
Ray, is that easy enough just to get those numbers for everybody that we can put it on the FAQ?
Yeah, I was thinking what I can do is pull all of last year's. It'll take me a couple hours to itemize them. But I was thinking over the next couple of days, I could pull that data together and put it all out there on
Or
a
is there-
spreadsheet.
Is there a place where they could find it though, already in the book? Or is there a way we can lift the information from another
So Ray-
resource?
Ray, I found it in the superintendent's budget last year. It's function 2312.
What page, Denise?
Last year it was 5-87
597 for this year,
What was
I
it?
think.
and it's line 334.
Yeah. And it was 71,000.
24 budget was 71,100.
Yes.
And the FY 25 budget was 71,100.
71 or 75?
71,100,
100.
but we spent 71,054.
That was pretty darn close.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But we are getting ready for big negotiations coming up with his IT, custodial and secretary.
Mhm.
So we were, thinking about that.
Thank you very much.
Jay? Yeah, I looked at that.
Yeah, so that was my question, was how difficult would it be for Ray when we break out these new functions? And I understand making this a district-wide function, 1,700. But does it break the system to bring the history over to the new function and just remove it from the old function? Does that break something? This way, people don't have to flip back and forth,
It
but they
doesn't,
can see the.
I understand where you're coming from. It doesn't, it's not the system generated because you're basically splitting it out for this fiscal year. We would just have to note and guide you back to the old, make a note that it was derived from a previous budget. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not going to break the system because it's separate from, a lot of this is separate drawdowns from the system when you extract it. It's not like other operating systems where you preload it and get it ready. I know some operating systems function that way. To the best of my knowledge, eFinance does not, although we are doing some testing on the upgrade. So, but it's something we could take a look at.
Yeah, it would be nice if we could see the history on this
Okay.
account, on the new function, even going back to see that, yes, in 24, it was 106,079, another year in which we had a negotiation, so that we can see the continuity. But again, I mean, just because I think it'll raise a lot of questions, I think it would be more transparent for the history to go with the way the account migrated to a new function. But I'll
So, and
just
that
leave it
was
at that.
that was not by accident, Jay. That was a lot of work behind the scenes was done just like that. The trending, the looking from year to year, what was actually spent in 24 and,
Right.
what had,
106,000.
yep. So that was actually done. So that's probably why that number is so close to the actual in 24.
Yeah, and I know it's a little late, but I was also thinking that the way that the new function was created for HR, that history could somehow flow with it. But again, it just makes it easier. And if we can't do it, then the idea that we put it all in the narrative, maybe, I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. I think that's a good idea.
Okay. Yep.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Matthew?
Jay raised exactly what I was going to raise. Thank you.
Okay. Adrian?
So I'm just looking in the previous version, that of the function codes that we got, and that is broken out. So the version of the function codes we got like 2 weeks ago, all of this is in there, and it looks like there was 113,686.
For the which year? 24 actuals?
For FY 25 budget.
Oh.
So, and then if you go back, it does kind of correlate with the actual budget, just a section out of it.
Mhm.
So curious why all that detail just disappeared in like the FY 26 budget is in there, but the 25 budget's all zeros now, but in the version we got, version 2, I guess it was.
It's good. You
All
kept
the
it.
numbers, all the numbers are in there.
Well,
I didn't even.
Ray said he'll get us the numbers. I did it by hand. That's what I did. I looked at the superintendent.
But you're seeing a different level
Yeah,
of
but it's
detail.
got, it's all done.
Yeah.
That page is
Yeah.
already done in the previous version.
Jen?
No, I was just gonna say what Jay said. Like, if we can't do it, like, at least
Have it.
put a reference in there, please look at page X. For 2020.
Well, or put it in the narrative or
25.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay, moving right along.
Okay, the next section is the pupil personnel office. And you can see there's no changes in staffing from this year to next year. That negative 0.5 is the student services coordinator at the high school that was reduced with last year's budget reductions. That individual went back to having a full caseload. So
Classroom teacher.
classroom teacher. And then if you look down below, you can see that the driver of this budget, again, is the apportioned benefits, health benefits, 41.8%. Otherwise, the increases are minimal, and there's a decrease in purchase services.
But all in all, it's a 4.7 increase, which
Right.
you said is more reflective of the benefits.
Mike?
So I think this is one of the a few spots where that gray column, the FY 25 budget is still off of the budget book. And it's I think it's exclusively because that line 107 special ed supervisors. So what we see in that gray column is 43,766. In the budget book, it's actually higher. This is last year's budget book. It's at 503,766. So it's 70,000 higher. And then that falls through the total too. So actually I think this budget item is actually down by a bit. So it's just that gray column that needs to change, and it's just the 107 line, that second line that falls through the total salaries and wages.
Yeah.
And then that doesn't affect the benefits, but it hits the total pupil personnel department at the end again. So instead of 1,141,294, the last year's budget book had at a higher number, 1,211,294. So it's 70,000 higher. So this budget goes down, which is consistent with that, I guess, 0.6 FTE decrease that you mentioned.
You see what he's saying?
Mhm.
Okay.
And I still have the question about the benefits still look weird to me, right? Like the FTEs are down, but then the benefits are up 42%. So I think that'll catch everyone. Many people will kind of catch that as hard to understand.
So on line 107, where it says sped supervisors, it should say 503,766. You might want to change that in your budget book, or you could do it on your own.
In the
Look at
gray
last
column,
year's
yeah.
budget and fix that gray column.
Yeah, so this,
Because I don't think we're gonna get a whole new budget book for that.
well, I think this is in the email, right? So these were the budget moves. Maybe we should go back and talk about that because it seems like this is gonna keep happening. There was a 280,000 function 1119, there was a 280,000 negative number. Which was,
Does that have to do with this page here?
yes.
Okay.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
70K.
Email.
Huh?
The 70.
It's one of the 70Ks.
It's
Okay.
one of the 70, so that 280,000, there were 70,000 moved out of 4 different categories. So I guess I don't understand why we moved all those in the first place. Why wouldn't we just why didn't we just let 1119 run over budget and talk about that separately? Rather than just confusing the whole document by moving these 70s around.
So
Do you want Ray to explain the negative?
Yeah.
Sure.
maybe Ray could jump in, but my understanding is e-finance, the system itself wouldn't allow us to make that adjustment because it's a negative entry. So in order for us to, adjust the 280,000,
The differences.
we have to put it in the correct categories. But Ray, feel free to jump in. It's on.
You are correct. This is one of the reasons why the system hiccuped last July. It would not, when you get one shot to load the entire budget with all 1,700, 1,800 lines, whatever it was. we didn't get very far and it crashed and people had to manually load it. But we discovered that this is why the load failed. Okay, was not a computer issue. It was not any other issue other than the data load itself. The system is designed not to accept a negative budget number. So it literally failed on us at that time.
So
Um,
if we had appropriated these to the correct places, right, like we did just
Correct.
last week, we probably wouldn't have had that error or that
Oh, I know
issue.
you wouldn't have had that issue, no.
Yeah.
It would have loaded
That
properly.
was done way before raise time
Yeah.
and, you know, I guess it was probably done as a placeholder. It wasn't anything irregular, but it should have been corrected.
Correct.
Jay, you have a question?
Yes, Bev, I don't know if this is the point at which we want to mention this, but it's going to come up on every page that we discuss and already has come up for almost every page we discuss. And that is, I would like to propose that we just create a separate function for benefits district-wide because we know that the benefits, it's in my estimation, it would be almost impossible to properly track the benefits for each function, given what Ray's mentioning, that people can come on and off benefits, and the different costs associated. I just don't know how important it is for us to be able to say, well, the art department costs us X in benefits, but the music department cost us Y. I just think it should go into a
Agreed.
district-wide function and come out of here because
Yep.
it raises questions on every single page, every single time. And there's no way to truly, and Ray can correct me if I'm wrong, there's no way to actually allocate the true cost of the art department to the benefits.
You are correct, Jay. I mean, we could do our best guesstimate right now as to what we think people are going to use in benefits. But come open enrollment, that could change 100%. It could go totally one way or totally the other way. So, you
So
are
I would
correct.
just take them, out of these functions, create a new function for district-wide benefits, and then bring all those accounts over to that. So we have a nice, clean function that actually is regarding, the labor and supplies and expenses. I mean, we don't try to allocate utilities, for example, and those kinds of things. So I'm not sure why we spend so much time. And I imagine it must be terribly burdensome for the business office to even try to make these allocations.
Are you suggesting we
Yeah.
do that for this year, Jay?
Well, I certainly can't say. I would think it would be a lot easier also when we go to the town bodies, but that's really up to Ray, how easy it would be just to sweep all that into another function. I think it would definitely make discussion a lot easier.
Go ahead, Lauren.
I was just gonna say, it's a good suggestion, Jay, and I'm just, this is a question for Ray. We can go back and take a look, but we've already established that new district-wide function and we could likely put it there.
Right,
And it'll be distinguished by benefits.
right.
So we can take a look at that tomorrow, Ray.
Yeah.
Okay.
Adrian?
Yeah, just to kind of finish up. So I'm trying to understand the negative 280,000 that was in 1119. So it was a mistake, I'm guessing, that it was put in as a negative, right? When we had the budget.
Well,
It's not necessarily a mistake, Adrian. What it is that the savings were lumped together and put in as a lump sum
We were taking it
on a
out.
line
Right.
that didn't have anything to take it from. So it just created a problem with the
So it
system.
was like a side note
Yeah.
It's almost like
going on, but
we knew it was happening, it got put into a lump sum. And because of where it was placed, the system couldn't accommodate the entry. So that is why we wanted to split it out by and have it apportioned to the appropriate function
Right,
where the savings
right.
were occurring, which was the math, the social studies, and then the people personnel and the
all right.
special
So
education.
that would be So that was the FT, the negative, just going back to that, the negative 2.0
Is
FTEs.
it called non-classified?
Yeah, it's called unclassified.
Unclassified.
I think it's -4 in the end.
Are you on a different page now?
No, now I'm looking back on the old, on last year's budget, actually.
Okay, what
So
page
last
on last
year-
year's budget? What page?
1119, it's 5-34. So it showed that we had negative employees in that category last year. And then the way here, it looks like an Excel sheet, right? So Excel just took 280,000 out of that total.
Mhm.
But now I'm trying to go back. Number one, so that's, I'm wondering, so those -2, I'm guessing, should line up somewhere in these 4 categories. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, it's -0.5, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5.
But so on this one,
This
when we go into clerical other, it shows that we adopted in the document we just got, we adopted 4.1 for 25. Oh yeah, never mind. All right, that's correct.
My understanding, it's -4, right? Because if you look at that page from last year's budget, that 101 certified teachers, there's a -2 at Fitch High and a -2 at the middle school,
Mhm.
which is total -4, which kind of jives with the 280,000
Yeah,
as well. So I think it's a -4 FTE.
Well, it's not 4 complete, isn't it? 4 halves?
Well,
Because they were half teacher, half.
well, I'm just looking at last year's because it says Fitch High -2 FTE change and Groton Middle -2. And then down below it says 4 FTE scheduling optimization at GE and Fitch High School for the budget narrative.
Mhm.
Along with it, though, are we chasing around the smaller number? I just noticed that again, the
What book are you in?
FTE aide, the 1 FTE aide at Fitch High School retired. I think it's 20, maybe 26,910. Is that floating around too, or maybe not?
No.
That's a much smaller number.
Is that your question, Michael?
Oh, well, actually, just go back to pupil personnel specifically, this is actually helpful because this is where one of the 4 is, but as you say, it says halftime. So that in the budget narrative, it says notes changes for this year, reduction of 0.5 FTE special ed supervisor, PPT. This is what we're talking about. Like the adopted budget had 4.5, but the actual is 4, and we're just sticking with 4, as he said.
Yes, this was a student services coordinator. So it was a teacher that was 0.5 teacher, teacher duties and 0.5 administrator duties to facilitate planning and placement team meetings. And the teacher was based at the high school, but the teacher facilitated PPT meetings at the middle school and the high school. So the 0.5 administrator position was reduced last year.
And so that's not a retirement per se, it's just like
No.
a change in role in
Correct.
that case.
Any other question?
Just a quick one. So these adjustments were made during the year of FY 25?
No, from last year to this year.
They were made with the new school year FY 24-25. So as of the beginning of this school year, we no longer have a student services facilitator.
Okay, so for the timeline of events, so like we passed this budget, it made its way all the way through the RTM by the end of May. And then decision to change those allocations occurred when the school year started,
July 1,
July 1.
the new school year.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right.
Were those changes communicated to the board at the time?
Oh, yeah, because I remember very vividly, we were talking about making sure that when we were cutting staff, that it came from all areas. And those were the two areas from the administrator piece.
So that occurred during a meeting? Or it was communicated?
Many meetings, yeah.
Thank you.
And it showed up in this 119 unclassified in terms of.
But that's one of the reasons, though, Ian, to your point, is that we want to track it. Like, we had lists last year that we
Right.
were bringing forth, but I think that was a confusing part of this whole process. So we're going to really try to streamline that and put it like we've done the Google Doc and the FAQ, so everybody's visible, everybody can see it at any time, so.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, we're here, yeah.
And so just to make sure I got this, lock it down, the 280,000, that's for 4 positions, but is it a half position each?
Yeah,
Okay, okay, and then last year in that 119 unclassified, it's saying 4 FTE scheduling optimization at GMS and FHS. That, I guess that was an error. It's 4 coordinator positions, but they're each half time. That seems like it.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Next page.
Ready to go on? Next page is 2110, school social workers. There is a correction to be made to the FTEs at the top of 5-76. So for Charles Barnum, would you please put under the proposed column 1.0? So we have one, the reason why that is 0 is because right now it's a vacancy. So many of the social work and psychology vacancies are shortage areas and they're hard to fill. So this year we were unable to fill that vacancy with a hire through the board, and we're contracting with a staffing agency to fill that position.
Is that with the Learn? Did we do
That-
that with the Learn?
That's the Academy social worker at Charles Barnum,
I know.
and it's with Laser Works.
Oh, okay.
So that should be 1.0 FTE. And so there is that position. There's also at Thames River, there's 2 social workers. One is in the K1 Academy and one is in the 2-3 Academy. These are classrooms for students who really need more explicit direct instruction in order to maintain appropriate behavior, regulate their emotions, deal with problem solving, and appropriate peer interactions. We also have 0.5 social worker in the board's budget at the middle school. That is a 1.0 position. The other 0.5 is in the Stronger Connections grant. And then at the high school, we have 1.0 social worker. So that brings us, the board is funding 4.5 social workers.
Mhm.
We have 6.5 social workers in grants. And they are primarily Title I grants. And we do have a mental health grant as well as a Title IV grant. And I'm happy to share where those social workers are if you'd like.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that.
Okay, so the 0.5 through the Stronger Connections grant is at Groton Middle.
Mm.
There's an additional social worker at Groton Middle funded through Title I,
That's a 0.5 or 0.1?
1.0.
1.0.
There's an additional 1.0 social worker at Fitch High School funded through Title IV.
Mhm.
There's a 1.0 social worker at Catherine Kolnaski funded through the Title I grant. There's a 1.0 FTE social worker at Mystic River funded through the Title grant. There's a 1.0 FTE social worker at Thames River funded through the Title grant. And then there's a 0.5 social worker at Mystic River and a 0.5 social worker at Thames River. This is the same individual funded through the mental health grant.
And how long are these grants for?
Well, Title is a continuing grant. The mental health grant, I believe, has one more year.
Mhm.
That came through, after COVID. And the Stronger Connections grant, I'm not as familiar with, Lori. Do you know how long that's in place for? I think through FY 26. That's the same as a mental health grant then.
Yes, it is the same.
Yep. Okay. So that brings us to 11 total social workers. Obviously, we have that one vacancy at Charles Barnum that we're contracting to fill. But we have 6.5 funded through grants and 4.5 funded through the board.
Now, the grant that's going to run out, how do you,
They're funded through fiscal year 26.
All the way. through to the
Okay.
We'll have
end.
to address that next year.
yeah, so
Oh.
we either gonna have to get a
Maybe
new
not
grant
until
or,
the year after next.
okay, that'd be good.
So you can see down below, again, there's the placeholder for the benefits and salaries and wages are up.
Mhm.
They have a small amount of supplies. They usually purchase instructional resources for teaching social skills, zones of regulation, a lot of the research-based curriculum that they use day to day with their students.
Now, did you say why the salary line went up, Denise?
Let's see.
The 102? Count 102?
There was a half a position at Groton Middle School that the board is picking up because of also some grant funding.
Oh, right, yes, right.
All right, that's only a half.
Yeah,
That can't be
that-
$167,000, can it be? I want to
No.
be that half if that's the case.
We'll have to look into that and get back to you.
Yeah, we have to look at that.
Thank you.
Sure. Any questions on our social workers?
Question?
Yeah.
Would it be useful to expand the narrative so it's very clear to council and RTM, what you just explained?
The grants.
Could you repeat that?
Sure, I'm sorry. I understood what you said, makes perfect sense. Unless you're going to be making a presentation to council and RTM, maybe if you think it would be beneficial to expand the narrative.
Oh, okay, to include some of the grants.
Whatever you think,
actually
whatever you anticipate, whatever questions you think they might ask.
I would just say that where you have additional social workers are provided by the title grants, I would just put the FTEs beside it and the
At
location.
FTEs
Yeah.
locations?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and actually the title of the grants too would be great to identify.
Sure.
And free of charge, we get the military family
Yeah.
liaison social workers as well at almost every building, I think.
That's great.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. Next page is our guidance department. And you can see at the FTEs, in terms of the guidance counselors, there's no change. We have 6 at Groton Middle School, 2 per grade level. We have 6.6 at Fitch High School, with the 0.6 being in the Career Center. So we have a total of 12.6 FTEs for guidance. The American School Counselor Association recommends a caseload of 250 students to 1 guidance counselor, and we're well within those parameters. In terms of the clerical staff, last year's budget reductions did include the reduction of 1 clerical staff person in each guidance suite. So you can see that we do have a reduction of 2 clerical staff in each school in the guidance suite.
And how did that work out?
Not real well for Groton Middle. I think they've got it. It's on the wish list. He reminds me every time I see him.
They're busy schools. These individuals primarily schedule PPTs, 504s.
Help with attendance.
They maintain the schedule for the building for all of the meetings, and they do a lot of parent communication. So it's a busy job, and it's an important job because we want to be sure we're scheduling meetings at a mutually agreeable date and time, and really involving parents in that process.
They try to have community coordinators fill in, but it's not the same. I mean, it's great to have that additional
Right.
support, but it's, yeah,
Michael?
Yeah, so on line 104 guidance, so I see we have the same number of, in the FTE chart, we have the same number of guidance counselors. But then that line is about 100,000, 104,000 down from the previous year. So kind of looks like there's a cut position in our budget.
There was a
There
guidance
was-
counselor position cut last year.
Yes, there was one position reduced last year.
Where does that show up? I'm not seeing that.
So we have a guidance counselor at the high school who was funded through a grant. And for the pathways,
So there's the RSS, oh, pathways, yeah.
Yeah. and she assumed that position when the guidance counselor left.
So we have 6 guidance counselors at Groton Middle, 6.6 at Fitch right now. And we're going to, in this proposed budget, same amount, right?
Correct.
But then in the adopted budget book, it has that same 6 and 6.6. So across the board for 104 guidance, on those 3 columns in the budget chart, it looks the same. But then when I look in the budget numbers, FY 25 budget book is 104,000 higher.
or lower.
Go back and double check the detail.
Are you still looking at 104, Mike?
Yes.
Because it was a decrease of 104.
True, I said it the wrong way, so,
Yeah, that's,
or said it back, reverse, but, yes, this year's proposed budget is 104 lower, so it looks like that should correspond to a reduction in staffing, but I don't think there's any intention to reduce the staffing I'm hearing, so.
Nope.
Now, why did you, what happened to the staff member? Say?
So one staff member was reduced from the budget.
Mhm.
And then we had an additional, that was a guidance counselor at Fitch High School. We have an additional 1.0 FTE guidance counselor at the high school who was working under the Career Pathways Grant.
with Congressman Courtney.
And
Right.
that grant ended and she assumed the position of the school counselor that was eliminated, the position that was cut.
Okay,
So all of the guidance positions now are funded under the board.
okay. All right. Matthew, did you have a question?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Ian?
Yeah, so the caseload ratio that you mentioned, 250 to 1. I'm just a little concerned about the career counselor position. It's a part-time position, a 0.6 FTE, if I'm reading this correctly.
Yes, that's correct.
And that's for essentially like, I would consider that's for the whole junior and senior class, correct?
Well, she supports the counselors. And she provides activities for the students in the career center. So she's an additional support to the 6 counselors and the students in the career center.
I think you worked out at the middle school, what is it? 150 to 1 or 160? It's probably more than that for the high school.
Yeah, but he's talking about
Right.
the career.
But I'm mostly concerned about the career counselor because, in my experience, it was, having interacted with that position over time, like that with students and the time was maximized and it seemed like a lot to handle on a part-time hourly basis.
But
Or
Ian,
is her
Ian,
caseload, so
can
I'm
you say
wondering-
that argument for when we get our budget, when we get the budget, because your argument's gonna be to add, right, right?
It is, yeah. I just wanted to hear the reasoning and if there's some math attached to like maintaining a part-time, because we've
Okay.
had this conversation before.
So is there reasoning
the
why
administration-
she's not full-time?
I believe her focus is really on the juniors and the seniors,
Right.
not all 4 grades.
And the class size of the junior and senior classes are average about 300.
A little under that,
Yeah.
do something
Yeah.
to.
So that's about 600 students for
Oh,
one
yeah.
part-time person.
Well, actually,
But she's a support, she supports the guidance counselors.
right.
That's what she does.
224 juniors and 235 seniors.
All right, so about 500.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah, I
I
don't
just
wanna
wanted to
get
hear
bogged
the
down talking about that now.
Yeah,
Right.
this won't bog it down. I was just wondering if maybe you wanted the the set of numbers for if we were to go to a full-time position for that.
Yeah. well, we-
For later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I would be curious to know what.
Can you give us that, Denise? If this was, that the career council was full-time, how much money, how much would that cost us? And salary and benefits,
Okay.
okay?
All right, the next page is a new page to the budget because this is the first year that the board has funded our nurses. So you can see under FTEs, we have one RN at every elementary school. So it does say 4, even though we have 5 elementary schools. We'll explain that 0 at Northeast Academy in a moment. We have 1 nurse at Fitch High School or Groton Middle School, 1 nurse at Fitch High School. And then under district-wide, we have 2. That's where we have our nursing supervisor, who is also based at Northeast Academy. So Northeast does have their own nurse, but she also serves as a district support for supervision. And we also have our float nurse, who's full-time, and she's been very helpful district-wide, but most particularly at the middle school. So we have 8 nurses, excuse me, 8 FTE nurses, and we have 7 FTE health aides. Every school has a health aide.
Where's the Sacred Heart nurse? Because the Sacred Heart nurse has, there's a grant that goes along with
Right.
that we, Ray, did you already submit that grant for the Sacred Heart nurse?
Yes, it was 69,000.
Yeah, that was done last October.
Did we put that in the narrative?
I can't.
It was vacant. It was vacant. Yes,
We'll have to add that to the FTE. It's no change, but
yes,
it was vacant at the time that the reports were done.
it was.
Do we have that, there's a grant that supports the Sacred Heart nurse?
No, but we can add that.
What are you gonna add?
There's a grant
the
that
narrative.
supports
Okay.
the Sacred Heart grant, and it used to go to the town when the town was paying, but it just seems
Yeah.
like it should come here since it's now in our budget.
Yeah, we started the year with a sub at Sacred Heart because the VNA nurse, I think stayed with the VNA. So we had a hard time filling that position and, I think the person that we had earmarked for it let us know late in the summer that she had accepted another job. So we just filled that position in, I think, beginning December.
So
we
was
had
the
a
float
sub
nurse
there.
helping?
We had a sub nurse there.
Okay.
Adrian,
I'm just going back to the FTEs for 25. Should it say 0 under adopted in all of those, and then actual would be a number, since this is not, we didn't actually adopt any FTEs in our budget, right?
It's a good point.
That's a good point, Adrian.
So the school health aides, did we pay for?
No,
them
they were all with the
last year?
VNA.
All right, so all of these positions
Yep,
should be 0
Very
right down the
smart.
line.
yep.
Update that.
With the big asterisk.
you all done, Adrian?
But I do want to share with the board, overall, we've had great success.
Yeah.
Working with the nurses
They love it,
directly through
too.
the board.
Okay.
They are working the same hours as the teachers, so they come in 15 minutes early, they leave 15 minutes late. They come in on our professional development days. We've been partnering with Learn to provide them with professional development. It's just really been a very, very smooth transition.
Appreciated by all of us.
And mainly because most of them worked for us in the VNA.
Uh-huh.
So they know the children, God bless you, they know the buildings, they know the parents. So it's been a very smooth, transition. Very
I'm
smooth
gonna-
change.
I'm gonna do like an Ian type of question right now.
Shoot.
When Jen and I went to the middle school, we happened to go into the nurse's office. And she was saying that she could use another full-time nurse.
Yes.
So how much would that cost us? And what do you think about the need? I mean, you have one nurse there for almost double the amount of students.
So.
And she gave us a whole, Jen can
Yeah.
jump in. Jen was afraid to say anything, so I'm saying it. She could jump in.
That's okay.
they're
The
good.
additional nurses on my wish list.
Okay.
Right now, we have the float nurse assigned pretty much full-time to Groton Middle. The issue with Groton Middle is they do have less students than the high school, but they're not as independent in caring for their health
Right.
as the students
Yep.
at the high school. We also have several students that have really chronic medical
Mhm.
conditions who need to check in with the nurse throughout the day. And again, they're not as independent in monitoring their health. So for sure, we do believe that we need another nurse at the middle school, and we're giving nurse Ashlyn the sub nurse right now, and she very much appreciates having nurse Brianna there full-time.
Mhm.
And we hope that through our wish list, we can get another nurse for next year.
Can you give us the cost for that nurse? If we added another nurse to the budget, how much?
To you, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Just so happened, I said to Jen, let's go to the nurse's office. Nobody ever goes there.
I don't know.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, like,
Yes, really nice.
well,
Hey.
because we need to do like a volume count, like impact the number of times the student
she,
go.
she has already. shared
Yes,
with me.
because that will help with getting an additional nurse there.
She has very diligently
Yes,
maintained all her data. And if you met Nurse
we
Ashley,
know,
you know how wonderful she is.
Yeah, she
Mhm.
is.
Do not
She's
want to
wonderful.
lose her.
exactly.
And she loves her job there too.
Yes,
But she's a little overwhelmed.
She's
yeah.
excellent.
Yeah.
The
we
the
really
figure,
hope we
the
can-
figure on the wish list is 70,000.
L70, that's
70.
chump change.
I can your jump anytime.
Huh?
That 70,000 number.
I know, it's
Very big.
popping up like crazy.
Michael?
Yeah, I guess I have a related question. One of them is, could you distinguish between nurses and school health aides? And one thing I was wondering if, nurses going to PPTs. I know that. I'm not sure if school health aides do. And then my related question is, Northeast Academy doesn't have a nurse, but it has a nurse aide. It's the only school without a nurse. I was wondering
Sure.
why and how
I
that
addressed
works.
that briefly.
Yeah.
Under
Nurse
district wide,
Yeah,
there's the NEA nurse is our nursing supervisor.
Sue Chapel, she's really
So
taking.
she
lead.
is based at NEA, but she also is
thank you.
doing an absolutely fantastic job
Got it.
being our supervisor district-wide.
Got it.
So she goes out to each school on a regular basis, and she's the go-to person that the nurses contact when they have questions. So she's just doing a phenomenal job.
Got it. And then for PPTs, is it only nurses or health aides?
Only an RN
Yeah.
and 504s.
Yeah.
It's not that often that they attend, and if they do, it's for the first maybe 10 minutes and then they leave.
Right.
So the nurse obviously provides direct care, and there's certain direct care that only the nurse can provide, depending on the student's medical condition. The health aide is an invaluable support in that health room. And the health aide also supports clerical duties,
Got it.
calling parents, calling classrooms, communicating with teachers, and entering the logs in Power School. Yes, yeah. And the medical records are all in Power School.
Thank you.
Matthew?
I'm curious, what are the credentials required for a health aide?
It's really, I believe it's a high school diploma. And we do, and clerical experience, and we do prefer individuals who have experience in a healthcare setting. But we have had some, one in particular who did not have that experience, and she's doing an absolutely fantastic
Sure.
job.
We've had a paraprofessional who's moved into that.
They work closely with the nurse. So the nurses they're able to observe the nurse, shadow the nurse, learn from the nurse, ask questions. They really work as a tightly knit team.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, one more. So the 2130, in last year's budget, there was a 0.5 clerical position. And I don't see that, it was a 133 line item code. And I don't see that in the 2026 budget. So It's 0.5 FTE health aid for the high school.
Okay, I think they had an additional health aide.
They only have the one nurse at the high school
Right,
and it's
so
even a larger.
the 2025 budget only had a one FTE of 0.5. Coded to 133 clerical. Did that position move completely into clerical or was that?
Are you talking about the FY 25, the current budget?
That position was reduced last year. You can
Yes.
see the negative 0.5.
Oh, this was taken out.
Yeah. it was
Yeah.
Negative.
Oh, okay. Well,
That was removed.
all right.
Yeah, it was removed last year.
Never.
Okay.
And then the last thing I want to share with the board on this page, Mrs. Washington, if it's okay with you, is that this is where we budget for our OT and our PT. And we do contract with Learn to provide our occupational therapists, our certified occupational therapy assistants, and our physical therapists. So you can see that line. And then we also have other professional services.
Mhm.
This is where we budget for maybe some more specialized evaluations that students might need, like a neuropsychological evaluation, risk assessment, auditory processing evaluation with PQAT, possibly a psychiatric evaluation, although psychiatrists that specialize in pediatrics are hard to come by these days. So we've been doing some clinical psychological evaluations. So that's where those are budgeted. And I think our district medical advisor is budgeted there as well. We also have a vacancy we have a telehealth.
Denise, how much do I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
How much do we pay for the district medical advisor?
It's under 20,000 per year, but
Okay,
I can post it up in that video.
okay, thank you.
We also have a telehealth speech pathologist at Mystic River, helping with overflow of caseloads.
And that's all represented in line 3333.
332 is other professional services.
But the OTPTs are in 333.
333 is just OTPT.
Is there any ability to get a further breakout of all things you just listed verbally? Kind of like parceled out
We have it in the narrative. We
with numbers?
share, the evaluations.
I was hoping to get a sense of the cost per item. Just to get a sense of like, what the evaluations cost.
Oh, sure. We
What
have
the
a,
advisor costs.
I can share that with the board. So if a parent requests an independent educational evaluation, we have a set rate sheet. That's
Okay.
kind of market standard.
Okay.
And it has the rates that's generally, standard market rate for each of the different evaluations.
Okay.
I can share with the board.
I think that somehow that ended up in our policy manual because we updated it last year.
Yeah, very good memory, Matthew. We did do that.
All right, any other questions? All right, moving along, Denise.
All righty. Next we get to our school psychologists. All of our school psychologists are in the board's budget. We have 11. We have one at every school. You'll notice that our larger elementary schools, Mystic River and Thames River, split a school psychologist. That's primarily to assist with assessments. So all of those initial assessments, 3-year reevals. We were finding that our school psychologists weren't getting out of the office and they weren't able to see students. So we have a school psychologist who's really an expert when it comes to assessment. And this is really an area that she enjoys. So
And not only do these two schools have, 500 plus students, sometimes 550, but they have all of our early childhood programs. So that birth to 3 coming into school and they, many, many PPTs. And they also have our specialized program, whether it's the Academy at Thames or whether it's the ABA program. And that requires additional assessments too. So that was a need.
And then at Groton Middle, you can see we have 3 school psychologists. Again, we have 2 school psychologists who provide counseling to students in addition to completing evaluations. And then in the academy at the middle school, we have a psychologist. And it's been a position that instead of a social worker has been very helpful because she helps with any overflow of testing with the 2 psychologists at the school. So they work nicely together. And then at Fitch High School, we have 2 psychologists. We have one in our NBA, our New Beginnings Alternative Program, and one who's supporting the general school population. Generally speaking, as students progress through the high school, we have less need for identification and evaluation. We're really working on preparing them for college and career readiness. So we're able to be successful with one psychologist for the whole school, especially since we have the 2 social workers.
What's the academy at the middle school?
It's called the Toledo Academy.
So it's like, we have the K1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 through 8, and then we have the NBA program 9 through 12. So they're really specialized programs where the kids do get out into classes, but there are times that they have smaller classrooms within a school or classroom within a school.
So there's no change to the staffing for the school psychologists. And the increase to their budget is nominal. It's 1.4%. They do have 15,000 for tests. We do a lot of work with Pearson with their Q Global program. It's an online secure database where they can enter the scores and it creates a report. We also have a digital assessment library where they're able to assess students using an iPad. So the instructor has an iPad and the student has an iPad. And we find the kids are more engaged in completing the assessments with the iPad, and it calculates and scores the results much faster. So a lot of their work is now digitized, but there is a cost to that. And they very much like it because it makes their job much more efficient and less chance for error.
Any questions on this page for Denise? Okay, moving right along.
Next is our speech and language program. You'll see we have 2 speech pathologists at Charles Barnum because our early childhood assessment team that Susan just referenced is located at Mary Morrison. But their home school in terms of faculty meetings and things of that nature is Charles Barnum. At Catherine Kolnaski, we have 1.5 speech pathologists. We do have a classroom at Catherine Kolnaski for students with more significant multiple disabilities. So we have a 0.5 speech path that's Catherine Kolnaski to assist that program all day Monday and all day Tuesday. Every other school we have, well, you can see Northeast has 1 speech path. Mystic River and Thames each have 3. Almost every student in our preschool program that has an IEP receives speech and language services. So there are really large caseloads in the schools that have the preschool programs. And that's why we have 3. In addition to the fact that we have our autism program located at Mystic River, and almost every child in the autism program receives speech therapy as well. At Groton Middle, we have 2 speech pathologists, and at Fitch High School, we have 1.5. So we have a total of 14. They also use for testing a digital platform through Pearson. And you can see down below under line 819, their dues, there is an increase because the contract negotiation includes their Department of Public Health license. They're able to get reimbursed and have the board reimburse them for their Department of Public Health license. And that was through contract negotiations.
Any questions? What did you say about line 101, the certified teacher
Line 101.
account?
Is
Okay,
that ECAP too?
Oh,
is that a new position? Am I missing something?
I think it's Please.
I think it's, if you look at the offset on 102, I think it might just be the position that's in Mary Morse. It's probably being captured separately.
Okay. All right, thank you.
So that FTE chart will be updated, I guess, for that? Because the FTE chart just has 102. Or maybe you can just say 101 and 102.
Any
Sorry,
other questions?
Well, I'm sorry, I just missed the detail about Mary Morrison position. What was that?
Sure, that's where we house our early childhood assessment team. They work
There's
with
two
children
people.
Grades 3 through ages 3 through 5.
Okay.
So the there's a full-time speech pathologist in that program,
Huh?
and she's under Charles Barnum.
Oh, there,
But
That's
there's
their home
also a
school.
full-time special educator. Do you think that is her price?
She's in 1230.
Oh, okay.
so that Charles Barnum FTE figure actually includes one for Charles Barnum and one for the Mary Morrison.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any other questions for Denise? Once, twice, turn the page.
All right.
We're skipping over teaching and learning.
Yeah, I think we're going to jump to, let's see. To tuitions. Yep.
Well, is that the the 120?
It is 5120, gen ed tuition. Okay, so the first description you see is for 4110. And this is the VOAG account. So these are students who attend Ledger VOAG
Mhm.
and learn in Prec Magnet as well as New London Magnet. And we are up 73 students from last year. And we do want to share with the board that there was the Connecticut General Statutes did pass a requirement that the magnet schools can only charge the school districts 58% of their overall tuition. So it has been capped for school districts.
Right, and the state will put in the other
State puts in the
42%.
rest. If you remember last year, we were looking at potentially not having to pay at all, that the magnet schools would get reimbursed from the state, but then that changed with the governor. So it's now capped. We pay 58%, they bill us of the tuition. So there's a small increase of 37.74 for this line. It's a 5.3% increase.
Was that 58% change? Was that captured in the notes? I missed that.
No, that's not in the narrative. We can add that.
That would be great.
Any other questions? Okay, Denise?
Okay, the next page is Gen Ed Magnet School. So these are again, this is Magnet School Gen Ed tuition. And this is 505,726,000. And it's an increase of roughly 3,600. And again, that is to account for the increase in enrollment.
I don't have anything on the narrative page, do you?
I think it's the same narrative as above.
Oh, it's the same narrative?
Putting this underneath 4110, it's on a separate page. In the past, it's been underneath.
So the narrative's on page 5120? Okay.
Yeah, so if this is for account 566 Magnet School, and you can see the chart up above is for 566.
Okay. Any questions on that? So we have more students going
We have more
to,
students. Yep, we have 4 more for Ledger VOAG. And we have about 69 more for Learn, Crec, and New London Magnet.
So Crick is all the way up by Hartford. Our students go over to Crick.
We have one student that goes to several students, their parents drive them. They
Okay.
go to a Craig magnet school. And, you know, we're responsible regardless of where the school is located, but if the parent chooses to drive them, which in this case they do,
Mhm,
we pay the tuition.
okay.
There's not a lot, it's a small number.
Okay, next page, Denise.
Okay, that takes us to our last two pages. This is the special ed tuition section. So if we look at the first section, which is 4121, this is Magnet Special Ed Public School. So this is the tuition. It's a little confusing
Mhm,
because 562, we have special ed tuition board placed. These are students who attend intensive programs at the magnet school. We have students attending specialized schools at Craig and at Learn. And their tuition is under 562. So it's a little confusing because it says magnet board placed. But the finance system has, the state finance system has the coding worded this way, so we have to follow it. And there's a nominal increase of 19,000. You can see the counts up above. And then we have 568, which is magnet school sped tuition. These are parent choice students. So students who attend the New London Magnet or the Learn Magnets, but receive special education services through the IEP. We're billed separately for those services.
uh,
That would include para support, special ed teacher instruction,
OT.
OT, PT, counseling, speech, BCBA. We pay separately for that. But again, the numbers are up above.
And the 562 is like when we have a student that we cannot fulfill his program or her program, we send out,
Right, that would be in 562,
right?
the board placed.
That does that include any of our students in residential placement?
No.
No,
Not anymore. When I
Oh,
first
okay.
got here, we did have a little bit of that.
We had one.
okay.
So 562 is board placed at the magnet schools, like those, the rests.
Mhm,
If you turn the page, 562 is students that the district outplaces, such as at approved private special ed programs, such as Waterford Country School, Bradley, New London Regional,
Attlebrook,
Adel. We
Adel.
don't have anybody there, but that would be an example. We do work with Pathways in Coventry, Rhode Island, or the Judo Center. And those placements, the increase is a 2% increase to account for their tuition rate increases from year to year. And then line 563 is special ed tuition for state placed. So what happens is if DCF places a student with an IEP in a foster home that's a distance from Groton, that student will attend a school closer to their foster home, and we will build the tuition, but it's under state agency placement because we didn't make the placement, the state agency did. And that's generally DCF.
How
Or
are we
they could
doing
be
reimbursement for those?
And we also calculated a 2% increase. The reimbursement, we're waiting to see this year what the reimbursement will be. It's set by the legislature each year,
For in excess cost.
right? For board placements and agency placements.
And now, does this impact us and impact aid when you did that
It does.
extra
It does. We had
excess cost for that?
We had two outplaced students who are military dependents.
mhm.
And we were able to receive the grant from Department of Defense for children with severe disabilities. That actually completely covered their tuition
Was it close to 200,000?
and their.
But it hasn't come in yet.
No, I think Ray has started to draw down a little bit of that. He's
Oh.
started to come in.
Ray, has that excess cost from Impact Aid, Department of Ed come in?
I think we did our first drawdown about right before the holidays, if I remember
Because
correctly.
that's supposed to go directly to special ed, right?
Yeah, I believe
To
so.
cover special ed costs.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Ian?
Just a quick follow-up on that, your explanation between the, if I just want to make sure my understanding is correct. Between the public school tuitions and the non-public school special ed. So looking at the notes in the narrative, the first sentence says, to conform with state law, Groton students with specialized vocational interests are enrolled in state vocational agricultural. That first sentence, would that be the special ed public school?
That would be Ledyard Boag.
And then the second sentence, would that describe the non-public school?
It would also be, we do contract with some vocational agencies,
Uh-huh.
like Sharp Training, to provide vocational experiences for students in the community. So that would be considered, that would be budgeted here.
Okay, I'm just looking at the narrative and trying to think of a way to explain in simplest terms, the difference between special ed for public school, that's allocated in 4121, and then the special education for non-public schools. in 40.
Like a magnet school. So Learn is considered a public school. It's a RESC. Obviously, New London Public Schools, which is all magnet, is considered a public school. And CREC, where we only have a few students. So that's tuition that we are billed
Uh-huh.
and we pay to a public school. Whereas the next page is students who attend approved private special ed programs. Those are schools that only have students with disabilities that are placed through the PPT.
Got it. So I was just looking at the narrative and it looked to me like maybe the first sentence could describe 4121 and the second sentence would describe 4122. Would that be a
Yes,
fair?
yes, that would be correct.
Okay. Maybe that might be a thing you could do to clarify the narrative for, the other bodies when we look at this.
Sure, yes, yep, we will, thank you.
Any other questions? Mike, you thinking?
Well, I do have a question not on this. It's 12:50. Just wanted to make sure we get back to that. It's a quick one, and I've got another one.
11250?
Yeah, once we're done with this one.
Okay. Any other Matthew questions? No? Yeah?
No.
All right, we're good. Okay. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so 1250 is on page 5-54 and 5-55. It's the function codes for blind K-12. And we've already talked about it in a prior meeting. And this is all covered by the state. It's just that there's still little money hanging around on it.
Yeah, we're going to remove that.
Yeah, okay, so that'll go.
What was gonna be removed?
I mean, it's not much, but.
Yeah, yeah,
What was that, Mike?
So on 5-55,
Mm-hmm,
there's some money in there,
mm-hmm.
but it's all covered by the state, so.
Okay,
we talked
yeah,
about it,
that's
it's
the
still-
line.
That
Yeah, it's still just hanging around.
zero that out.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you, Denise.
And then on 1230, special ed. I think this is one of the places where.
You're at function code 1230?
Oh, sorry, it's yes, so it's page 5-53. Yeah, function code 1230, special ed K through 12.
Mm-hmm,
So what I've got here, this is one of those 70,000. And so it's just wanting to write down exactly that positioning. For the there must be a coordinator. It's in our list that.
you know what position that was for the 70,000?
Maybe,
Lori?
It would have been a teaching position. That would have been reduced when the coordinator returned to a teaching position.
Okay. You got
So it
that,
would have
Mike?
been at Fitch High School. A position at Fitch High School for 70.
Yes.
a teaching position was,
Assumed by one of the
Mhm.
coordinators.
coordinator
That went back in their contract. Should they go back
He
to
went,
the
he
union?
went, from 0.5 FTE special education teacher
Yeah.
to 1.0 FTE special education teacher.
but there's a
It's a corresponding teacher reduction. in this.
reduction, right?
It's-
But
That's the, we see it half at Fitch High School. Under the FTEs. You see that?
Oh, yeah, I see that.
okay,
Under special ed certified.
so that person is no longer in special ed? I'm confused now.
They would have left the district.
The one who, the 0.5.
And the other half of that person, did they leave the district too? I mean, they did, but where would that be reflected? So that's half a person. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
So I believe the coordinator moved from 0.5 special ed teacher to 1.0.
Correct.
I'm not following that still. Um. And then.
Can you explain that a little clearer? Because I heard Michael said he doesn't follow that.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to look at the history to see if we had a half-time teacher that might have been limited. I just don't recall off the.
Yeah, I don't
head,
either.
But we can certainly go back and double check that.
Okay.
And I was wondering when we were looking at that unclassified, that 1119 from last year's budget. Of course, I have that 280,000 that we've been talking about, but it also had that 26,910 in 111, which is regular and special ed teacher aides. I was wondering maybe if it went in here too, just asking. And
Yeah.
then my last one on this is just that, so now, this is the first time we can see the differences, because we didn't have that benchmark before. Line 131, special ed teacher aides. It is up. But it seems like it's up almost too small, but maybe it's. So it says in terms of 111 and 131, we've increased from last year's budget, this one, 7.8 positions.
Mhm.
Is that maybe distributed between 111 and 131? And I'm just, because it looked like a pretty small increase, but maybe the rest is in.
The rest is in IDEA, right? For your
We have 45 paras in IDEA.
IDEA. So that makes up like the 190.
No, not that. It's not grant covered. It's the 7.8 and the on the budget, the FTE chart.
I know. I
That
see.
7.8 increase, is it mostly in 111?
It's mostly in elementary where we went.
No, it's an increase in paras based on student IEP needs. And the numbers just fluctuate.
Yeah.
On a daily,
Mhm.
weekly basis, so
They
it's
do.
hard to say.
It's a moving target is the
Yes.
best way to
It's
describe
like
it.
one leaves the high school and then you add one at the elementary, it's just like a constant moving target.
Oh, no, I understand. I appreciate that. I was just wondering so that 7.8,
Mhm.
is it distributed evenly between 111 and 131 or mostly in 111?
I believe it's in 111, but we can. double
Yeah,
check for
okay.
you.
What, in the regular versus special ed aides? That's regular. Because I don't think we have as many regular aides. Those aren't those the,
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was
Part-time.
thinking Backwards.
huh? No,
Backwards.
because we have the kindergarten aides and the,
They're somewhere else, I think.
yeah.
Yeah, the kindergarten aides are under
Yeah,
elementary.
so it would just be
Okay.
special
All right.
education. Yeah.
All right, well, you'll get back to us on that. Thank you. Appreciate it. Ian?
Yeah, I just wanted to take a swing at explaining what I thought, my understanding of that 0.5 differential.
Okay.
You said that somebody's transitioned from a sped coordinator to a regular teacher?
Yeah.
Did that person take on a regular teacher position at the middle school and left their 0.5 position at the high school? Because if they did,
Nope, they stayed at the high school.
okay. I noticed there's
You
an
would've
increase
solved
of
the
a
problem.
1.0. at the middle school.
Yeah, I think that 0.5 is the coordinator position, which has already been reduced in administration.
Mhm.
So we'll have to take a look
It
at
was
that.
reduced in both places though.
It was reduced as teacher too,
Because we reduced a teacher.
but then he took on the teacher's position that left.
Right, and there was an increase of 1 FTE at Groton Middle.
Yes, I can address that. So we have two beautiful state-of-the-art classrooms for students with severe disabilities at Groton Middle School. And due to enrollment, we had only one teacher in the budget last year. But we were monitoring this class because the enrollment was getting close to tipping us over into needing that second teacher. And within the first several weeks of school, our enrollments were such that we had to split the class. So we had to bring in an additional teacher back into the second classroom. So now we have two SEAL Academy teachers because of.
And we started with 2 when we first
We started
opened.
with two when the school opened.
And then our numbers, we had a little bit of a dip.
Right.
Thank you.
You all set, Mike?
Thank you.
I still think,
You done?
I think Ian's justification of the minus 0.5 was the 0.5 that he left behind, but he took on a position that was already there that the person left the district.
Right,
So he
Mm-hmm.
was able to fill already an existing position, but the minus 0.5 was his teaching position
Mhm.
that no longer.
right, that
Right.
got reduced.
Thank you for helping me think that through. Got it.
Anything else
I know.
for Denise? Going once, going twice. All right, thank you very much, Denise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I was gonna say, my people
Yeah,
who have to
go on.
travel, all of them, because the rest, we've got Clint and I've got this covered, and anything else that you want to talk about? I've got it covered. So, yeah, hit the road and drive safely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate all your
Thank
hard
you,
work.
everyone.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Except for Anne Marie. Well done.
Sorry, Nick. Today, didn't you?
Yeah, I saw her action today.
You,
She did a great
Susan,
job.
do you need me for anything?
Great job.
Susan,
Right?
do you
Ray?
need me for anything?
Ray, you haven't done your business office one. We need you for that. You want to
Okay.
do that next, and then Clint will go?
Sounds like a plan.
I got
I have papers to grade when I'm done here.
Okay.
Go for it, Ray.
Okay. Okay, we're on page 5-99 and 5-98.
What was that again, Ray?
5-99 and 5-98.
All right, 5-99 and 5-98.
While we're getting situated, Madam Chairwoman, if I may, I just want to thank Mr. Thomas for taking the lead on displaying all of the different pages and sheets and so.
Ah, thank you.
you.
So thank you.
Very welcome.
He was gonna try to multitask.
No, I
but
got
you
it.
can do it.
Yeah.
He's actually doing one heck of a job too.
He is doing a great job.
I say he's hired.
Seamless.
He's keeping me awake. No. No, as you can see, the number of FTEs, that has not changed. Although we've got some new people in there right now, a new person being trained on the payroll side. And hopefully you'll be hiring a new person to backfill my position. So that is, but that's holding steady. We also, on the budget side, and by the way, I agree with Jay. 2 of my last 3 districts I've been with, we've consolidated the healthcare into one line. So I think Lori and I should get together and move it into the admin line. I think it'll be much easier to control. Be far fewer questions too. This is dollar amount. This is the budget.
I mean, the new district wide?
Yeah,
that
that-
we have?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I agree. I agree with Jay's assumption there. Overall, not much. You'll see a slight decrease in some of the areas, and that again is attributed to new hires that are coming in, potential retiree, and several new hires that are coming on board to backfill those that have retired. So obviously you bring in a little lower salary. So you're seeing a net reduction of about right now 55,000. But again, part of that is attributed to the healthcare benefits, the way they're distributed. So not much change. It's a pretty flat budget. So I'll entertain any questions if you have any, but again, the one thing I am going to do over the next few days is try to get some of the detail behind some of the items like the 331, the 626. That way I'll itemize out some of these and give you some examples of what's actually in some of these lines. So that gives you a little more to chew on behind the scenes. Okay.
Ray, what's line 331, professional services?
That's one of the lines I'm going to get you plenty of detail on. As a matter of fact, hold on here. I may have something I popped open here. Actually, I lost it when I was going back and forth here. I ran 331, but it's all kinds of different services that are out there. For example, within here, professional services, I would say could be our the copy machines are within with oh God, Clint's budget. But I'll get you the detail behind what's in each of these. For the most part by function, but some of them spread across function that are very similar. So I can pull these up relatively quickly. Couple hours, I can separate them out and put them on a spreadsheet for you so you see what you have. Okay.
Okay. Any
Any other-
questions about the business office? Adrian?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we're accounting for any additional time or money that we might have to spend with the operational review. Is it gonna be done by July 1st?
That I don't know. We'd have to talk to Joe, the gentleman there.
Was
I've
there,
given,
were
I-
you keeping track of that? Because I know you originally started out there and then
right.
done
But
more for
I
us.
think I have what? 15, 30, 20 hours tops, something like that. I don't think I have a
I
lot of
don't think it
hours.
was many days, but I think it's gonna ramp up a little bit going
Yeah.
forward. We heard.
Yeah, it's gonna ramp up.
But I know Irene was tracking some of my hours that I put in. I did about 3 or 4 days right before the holidays. It was basically all dedicated to gathering information and emailing them off to Joe. But other than that, we haven't heard much from him. Or I haven't anyway. Let's put it that way. Mr. J has his hand up.
Yep, I just want to make sure Adrian's all done.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Did I answer your question,
Yeah.
Adrian?
No, that's okay.
Yep, yeah, I mean, it would just be nice to, at some point, if we had a kind of a schedule for that, for the rest of this fiscal year and
Yep.
then.
Where would that fall in here? What kind of a line would that be for additional support?
Let
Or
me
would we
take a
have to
look.
Create a line.
I may create a line on there, or it may go under, it could be just additional administration cost. Let me take a look at it, see what's out there. I don't want to recreate a wheel. If there's a line that I can put it in and
Don't put
distinguish
it
it.
in the admin line, Ray. Don't put it in one
No,
oh
no,
five.
no.
Would it be
But-
professional services if we hired someone, like when you were
Right.
just hired for that? Was that,
That's where I would put it, but I want to make sure I don't muddy the picture by putting it. There might be another 330 line that I could put it in, that's not used very often. That way
Okay.
we could distinguish it much better.
that would help?
Now,
Jay-
bear in mind, it won't have a budget. Just keep in mind,
No, it'll start with 0.
bingo.
Jay, you have a question? Jay?
Yes, thank you. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So Ray, in your spare time, have you had any opportunity to contemplate whether this business office, as it's currently set up, is truly staffed to what it needs to be, given the large amount of grants that we process and the large amount of information requests that the business office, in other words, do you have a wish list if you were going to be the permanent finance director, is there anything
No,
that says
joke.
to you, no, just assuming, is there anything where you say, what, this really needs to be beefed up, where we need additional support in this area, whether it's grant reconciliation, bank reconciliation, payroll?
I think right now, Jay, the biggest thing that we need to look at is getting our processes and procedures down in our cross training so that when somebody is out sick, or let's say somebody has major surgery, we have to do payroll. We need to get somebody cross trained in payroll. We need to get the grant area that where we're doing the excess cost, the person that's doing that, helping monitor all of our Medicare. She needs a backup. Then we need to look and consider that. I mean, there's a lot to be done, but most of it is cross training because, like most public positions, everybody does things in a silo. They don't cross train, and without cross training, that's the biggest issue right now. So
Yeah, but I've seen you do some of that, Ray.
well,
So you
we're
gotta
doing
take
it now.
credit.
We're
Yeah.
doing it now.
You're actually doing that, especially with some of our new hires, learning
Yes.
payroll and learning grants. I mean, we've
Yeah.
got a couple really good new ones too. So,
And then we've got some, I've got some training, like tomorrow morning, I'll be doing a grant with Shannon. I'm also pulling one of our new people in. I'm teaching them how to do the grants as well on the drawdowns. Because we're trying to get some drawdowns done on some of these, some of this federal DoD money, but before or if it gets shut off. So we're trying to be a little proactive on some of the things that we're working on down there. And then on top of that, I've got, like Heather was doing, evaluation of testing on the payroll system today for the new e-finance upgrade. So, and one of my other new people was doing transactions and budget updates within the new system, so that when they did them in the old system, they knew how to do them. So we're doing a lot of that now, because it's intuitive to do it while you can. So we're trying to kill two birds with one stone. So we're kind of restructuring a little bit. Lori is helping me out as well. She's bird dogging me. She's doing a very good job. So, but no, in all seriousness, I thanked her the other day for scheduling some of the meetings for me, because I was tied up last week wrapping up the EFS file. Oh, by the way, that's finished, it's submitted.
yeah, yay.
Okay.
Signed, sealed and delivered.
Yes,
Well,
ma'am.
Ray, I'm gonna send Jay
So-
in for cross training so he can help you out in the business office. 'Cause he's
Yes,
been bugging me
yes.
about doing that.
Well,
It's too
So
much
it's-
he'll be there
Yeah,
tomorrow morning.
Too much time on his
Yeah,
hands.
I'll be happy to volunteer on Wednesdays. But so at the end of the day, Ray,
yes, sir.
you feel as though if everybody went through the cross training and everything else, that the staff that we currently have, the staffing levels, are adequate for what we expect the business office to do.
I think right now, once we get everybody trained and up to speed, and we don't for example, we don't have to do the e-finance upgrade. Once that's out of the way and we're up and running, for the next couple of years, the cross training is gonna start coming naturally. And we're putting together a schedule to make sure that it keeps going, but it shouldn't stop there. I mean, I've got some of the people I would recommend we get them to Caswell. You've got some very talented staff that, if encouraged and brought along, you have some in-house potentials for what I would say a business manager position. You have some staff that has that potential. Let's put it that way. They just need the right guidance and the right mentoring and the right training. So, but
All right, well, again, thank you, Ray, and thank you for stepping into the breach and reconciling all of our concerns last week and bringing this proposed budget back. And, for all you're doing to because I know you're going in a bunch of directions at the same time. And we do appreciate that between the operational review and closing out the audit. We're very appreciative. Thank you.
And again, I apologize if I'm a little loose on the budget because I'm just now starting to get deeply involved in it. I spent my first month back here, literally just concentrating on one main area. And I do apologize for not, I pride myself on knowing my numbers. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know my numbers the way I'd like to know them. So I'll be very blunt.
You had a few other things to do, but we helped you.
Yes, you did. And thank you.
I helped.
Yeah. But
right,
it was a good team effort. So.
Yeah, it was.
Any questions for Ray on the business office page? All right. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you. Hey, everyone. Have a good
Thank you.
night.
Good night.
You
Enjoy
too.
grading papers.
Yeah, thanks. Couple more hours of work. Have a good night.
All right, Clint. Thank you, Clint, for waiting. Appreciate it.
Big table, if you don't mind. Hi, everybody. What pages are you? 5-113 would be a great.
1-2 and 1-1-2 and 1-1-3.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you. Good point. All right, if you all humor me, I know we're in hour 3 of tonight's production, but I'm just gonna set the table very quickly with your permission.
Okay.
All right, so I want to go kind of some of the strengths and then kind of give you a narrative on this, on where I'm headed with this, where our needs are. So strengths, 1, fabulous team. I've had this position in 4 districts, best team I've ever had. It's wonderful. So kudos to them. Teacher laptops, really good shape. We're heading into year 4 of a 4-year lease. Network, we have a very modern network here through grants and other things. We've been able to update it. We have our last 2 pieces that we're updating core switches in 2 of our elementary schools. Once we get that in, we have a very modern network across the board. Phone systems, we have a VoIP system that we outsource to BreezeLine. We're entering the end of that contract and we're going to plan on an RFP process moving forward. Radios, IT has taken those on now for maintenance. We are managing those really for safety and security purposes. Security cameras, you've heard me with my 3-layer cake. We are at the very finish line with that, working with PD, both town and city to test. Promethean boards, we have one in every classroom. You'll see them on here because we don't have them in every educational space, but we have a modern Promethean board in every classroom. Software, we're moving as much to the cloud as we can, being efficient with licensing to try to save money. Copiers, we're trying to hold the line. People still love paper, even though we provide everybody with a digital device. We want to find the right balance of making sure teachers and students have what they need while not breaking the budget by killing a bunch of trees. PA systems, we have 1 hole. Everything else is very modern. You'll hear about that. Computer labs, for the most part, are up to date and good. Special education, assistive technologies. I've been working far more closely this year with Denise Doolittle because I do not have an admin assistant. So again, we have specific tech needs for every student with an IEP and we're managing that. Filtering, per our conversations here last year, we've moved to a far cheaper system through the Connecticut Education Network, which has had its hiccups and some bumps. You might have remembered one of our high school reps talking about that, which we circled back to. You get what you pay for. It works and it's secure, but it just takes more management and so forth. So we're doing that. Speaking of CEN, we've updated the main bandwidth pipe that's coming in for no extra cost from the Connecticut Education Network to this building. And then we continue to pay for fiber connections to all of our other buildings. And last, but certainly not least, we have about a 90% digital AV platform, little hiccup today. But we're continuing to build that out so we can capture in 4K and record along with other things like enhancing audio and lighting and so forth. You know, we're in the middle of a project trying to do that for the high school auditorium, but we're really trying to give Mark and Caitlin the tools they need to capture all the wonderful things happening here. Okay, so that's all the good news. The key piece that keeps me up at night right now is the refresh cycle for student devices. So again, just to situate you, every student 6 through 12 in Groton Public Schools has a take-home device. That means they're responsible for it 24/7, charge it at night, do your homework with it, bring it into school, ready to learn every day. We're continuing to work on that to make sure all students follow those rules and so forth. And then at the K-5 level, pre-K-5 level, there is a 1-to-1 model, but it is not a take-home. It's in the classroom. They do not take those devices home. We do have Munis as a line item in the CIP. I had another meeting with them and my counterpart in the town to get better pricing. That is ongoing. I have not had a chance to brief the superintendent per my meeting today as of yet. But that is moving and the money allotted is in the ballpark of what we're talking about as far as what's in the CIP as of right now.
Good.
So we're getting there. This is a collaborative effort right now between the town and the Board of Ed. And my hope is that continues and we work out. Obviously, we don't control what the town does on the town side, but I'm hoping that we can continue to work together and make that work for all of Groton with a single system, with the appropriate bifurcation, et cetera, et cetera. Again, I've done this exact thing in Branford when I was tech director there. We moved the Board of Education onto Munis. There are 37 municipalities in the state of Connecticut that do Munis on both the town and the Board of Education side, and half of Massachusetts, I was told. So anyway.
Is that something that at a future date, we could get a representative to come talk to the board a little bit about what the
Absolutely.
capabilities would be?
Certainly capabilities and certainly what's really on my mind now is what a transition process would look like. You heard obviously and are very cognizant of the fact that the business department has their hands full right now. So first order of business, I would hope we would have a stable, settled business manager to help, partner with me to kind of jockey this transition and so forth. But again, this needs to be, if we want to do it right with the appropriate savings, this can't be in parallel with this town. My recommendation would be we hold hands and do that together appropriately with the town. But again, I don't control the town. We don't control the town. So that would have to be a collaborative effort to work through those details from cost to implementation and so forth. It is cheaper to go in the cloud as opposed to having it on site. And it is certainly is cheaper than both of us running our own instance of Munis. It's doing it together where we become kind of an add-on module, again, with the caveat that it would be separate. That's obviously a concern for every municipality, town side, board side, but then it can be reconciled together appropriately. So that's the big picture. The meat of tonight, certainly we can go through line by line if you have any questions. All of you should have at some point received I'm going to inject the holiday spirit into it. I know it looks like Christmas with the red and the green, but this is kind of when I originally submitted my budget to the superintendent, I had new technology, either replacement or new, and either instructional or non-instructional across 4 lines in addition to CIP. We were told CIP is a no-go for the tech, so I reprioritized this and then put that in the appropriate lines for the last 4 that you'll see on page 5-115. So this may be the meat of the conversation. I would suspect it's the bigger ticket items. I could certainly pass these out. Was there email? I don't know how it was distributed. Forgive me.
Do you have it as a PDF?
I can share it afterwards. It's a spreadsheet.
I can project it at the.
Ian, can you pass them around?
So how would you like to proceed? Do you want to go line by line? Do you have questions on that? Do you want to discuss?
Was there anything that you want to explain to us?
So there are no major additions to this. There are a few that look, optics is a larger 331, 343, and 610. The FY26 ask on those include what I submitted, but it also includes additional pieces from individual schools that asked for some of this. So my portion really is a part of that, but as part of the budget process, it was consolidated from wish list at schools to a more.
Well, it was their actual site budget.
Yes,
So it was-
correct.
So
Thank you.
it came from the site
Forgive
budget
me.
from the school
Site budget.
to here, because it's.
So certainly we can talk about some of those. I don't know if any particular ones jump out at you. The ones that I've had to be doing more and more work on is line 343, computer network services. As you're all aware, and again, I'm not going to go publicly into detail at it, but we just hit the 1-year anniversary yesterday of when we had a cyber attack on this school district.
Yeah.
And if you'll recall, we were down for about 6.5 hours.
Mhm.
And we were able to recuperate from that. As one of the items on this additional equipment budget, you're going to see line, where is it? Sorry, line number 4, GMS, replace DR replication service, GMS. DR stands for disaster recovery. This is the system.
Where are you?
Sorry, line 4 on this document.
Oh, okay.
I was wondering,
And that is where we have a separate stack of servers, if you will. I'm oversimplifying, but just for your information, please ask questions. And where we on And again, I'm not gonna go into too many details, God forbid, somebody who wants to get us is listening.
Mhm.
But we do have a disaster recovery facility. We also push backups of everything we do into the cloud, which is separate from our day-to-day. So one, God forbid, we have another cyber attack. We have a ability to recover from that. And the other thing that keeps me up at night is if this building ever becomes inoperable for some tragic reason, we're in the flight path of Groton and London, God forbid, or whatever the case may be, we need to have a plan of where we can spin up all that we do, because we have our data center here in this building. I owe it to this district to be able to get all those systems back online if this building goes down or another building goes down and so forth. So that's part of what goes into the disaster recovery plans that we have for data, for systems, things like that. Comment?
And that's why you have that big increase on line 343.
So 343 includes a additional subscription for our firewalls. We have redundant firewalls is real, which you can think of as really the gatekeeper for any traffic that flows in and out of Groton Public Schools. And that is really our chief defender to the network. So we not only have new ones, but we have subscriptions that we pay on that, which are new and bumped up. We continue to get feedback from our cyber insurance providers where we have to have a certain level of security, both how we run our firewalls, how we give out accounts, et cetera, et cetera. If we don't meet that minimum standard, and I'm not saying we just meet the minimum standard, but if we don't, we do not qualify for cyber insurance.
Uh-huh.
And that is something that I would like us to continue.
Yeah, I would too. Any question? Michael has a question.
Oh, yeah.
Tell.
So on that 343, that
Yep.
additional firewall, how much is that roughly? Because I'm looking at that 164,
Yep.
165,000 increase. I'm trying to.
Yeah, again,
Parse out what
some of
that
that is from
breaks down to.
site budgets that were put into mine, so I can't give you the whole nut.
Oh,
but-
343 is as well.
But 343 had some of that. So my portion of that is 216. And the firewalls consist of the firewalls for district subscription service. For the two firewalls is 54.9.
Okay, so your total portion of so in this 343, it's 264,179.
For the entire district.
And then you're saying your portion is 216.
Yes, and 54.9 is the firewall portion of that. And I can go through other details within this budget if you'd like.
And then, so it's up 164,000. So I'm thinking a lot of that up is from you too.
A good portion of that is from me.
So
The
what
two
else?
big ticket items there are firewalls, and then again, our WAN connections, we pay monthly for every connection to all the schools, including Mary Morrison. I'm just going through the highlights here. Internet access overall. We pay licensing for, we have a virtualized server stack. So if you have 24 services that you're running, you don't have 24 servers. You have a consolidated amount with a large amount of storage space. So it's a virtualized server stack.
So is that price is escalating or
Yes. I think
I-
it's like 8 to 9% this year,
how much?
8 to 9%.
Oh, so that's not all that much.
But see, when you look at the actuals in 24, they were 174.3. Do you see that? And then it looks like for the FY 25, we reduced it to 99. So that was one of those probably areas that we took, probably even
Mm.
shaved too much from.
Yes, and then.
So
I
the
kicked it
actual
back up.
increase is less than 100.
A big chunk of that is the fact that I'm trying to better protect us and it's spending money because I can't be a two-time loser, so to speak. Not that it was necessarily my fault and we recovered, but
You
yes.
know,
I don't think you lost, actually.
No, you actually,
Oh.
6 hours was.
I'm proud of the
rescue.
6 hours. I wish we never got attacked, but I'm proud of the 6 hours when other districts in this state were down 3 weeks, a month.
Bringing in Homeland Security and all the other
Yes,
folks.
yes,
Yeah.
I am on a first name basis with the cybersecurity FBI group out of Newark, as well as we are very lucky that we have a Homeland Security officer that does cybersecurity who has a child in our school
Parent.
system. So
So I guess I won't belabor that breakdown, but actually be nice to have that, like for 343 and 331, and I guess what's the other one? 610. So just kind of the breakdown of what it is, because those are big increases
Mhm.
and overall,
that's why I wanted to shout them out.
yeah, so
Is there
just have that
something that we
breakdown,
could
the
put
next
in
level.
the, give them the data, but maybe put it in the narrative? Could you add to the narrative?
I can make that happen.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be
Yeah.
good.
So then everybody can see.
Yeah.
Next year, having like this as an agenda.
Yeah, so yeah, we'll make sure that this is part of it, but then I will go after 331, 343, and 610. Would it be helpful, Mike, I'm sorry, you all said?
Yeah, I just don't, I was wondering in the big budget breakdown,
Yep,
like in these big four or like, well, 4 columns, but in this like, I don't know, 10 or so, where does this fit? Is it a mix of purchase services and property services and equipment? Because equipment's really large. I imagine a lot of this is an
Yes.
equipment.
Well, on your second page, you have the codes, 731
Yeah, that's
735.
right.
and 736, which correspond with what's on this sheet.
correct.
So this would be like the detailed breakout of those numbers?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it. Look,
again, for this, the Christmas sheet, I tried to leave where they originally were in that first column A, which you can see is CIP 25-26. Again, I took all 4 of those columns, four accounts plus CIP, added them to this list, tried to prioritize. Green is what I really need for next year to make things continue. Again, the big focus of that is line 12. You can see $234,000. That is 2 grade levels of brand new Chromebooks. I need 4, but we're putting that in the red for the second group to stage this out for 2 years. And that red also includes an upgrade to some of those classroom devices at the elementary school level. A few highlights in the green, again, rows 2 through 12. The Fitch PA system was the original box that we're still using was purchased in
1976, because I know, that's when I
1976. I was
graduated.
1 year old.
Heard of,
Yes.
called ourselves.
So trying to keep that connected and alive and connected to a modern voice system has been a challenge. That building sometimes takes lightning strikes. And of course, this system is up in the wing, is in the second floor behind the auditorium. So it's very high. So we're doing everything we can. Thankfully, I have a vendor that specializes in parts for this old system. But again, that keeps me up at night because what
Oh,
happens
we've
when
had,
parts for that?
when it's gone down for little periods of time, and it is a concern. We have
It
to
is.
makeshift
The
the.
backup system is, Principal Brown can go over to the phones. Each phone has a speaker in it. So we do have backup emergency communication with all the classrooms. That being said, the speaker on that versus a full room speaker is obviously, we want everybody to hear it in a case of an emergency.
That is a #1 priority.
So that is a big one. Other things, I mentioned Promethean boards. We have a handful of education spaces that I've gotten requests for that people would like to have covered. Laptop cases, we can't afford laptop cases for every laptop because we're talking about, 6 through 12, we're talking about, 2,300 cases at 25 to 30 bucks a pop. But one of the things we've done is we've bought a handful, and if we have students who have certain, cause damage accidentally or otherwise, as we fix and return them to them, we put them in a case. And this is not just a case you zip open, but this is a molded plastic case that goes on top on the bottom.
Highly durable.
It's, in most cases, it works. In some cases, we've had some outstanding issues.
Ian has a question. Do
Please.
you?
Just to clarify on the Christmas sheet.
Yep.
Lines 6, 12, 13, 14, 17, and 18, where it lists CIP 25-26.
Mhm.
These are the items that you had planned to put in the CIP and then.
That I made an original CIP request for.
Right.
Yes.
So are you, ultimately, as this gets folded into our budget, is this budget request line going to change into a different descriptor?
Yes. I just wanted you to see where I had originally placed this stuff and
Understood.
get feedback from you all on how to proceed.
Okay.
Sure.
And you said the Munis, the software program, that is still in play.
That is a
As a
CIP
CIP.
request by the business office, not the IT department, and that is still in play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Very well, thank you.
And it sounds like it's getting some support traction.
I do
I
not want
think
to
it
speak
will.
for anyone else, but I'm working regularly with my counterpart on the town side, and we continue to work with Tyler, which owns Munis, to get more information, pricing, and really talk about what it would take to come together.
But just to build on that, I guess I would hope maybe that if we could schedule an agenda item for the regular meeting at the end of this month,
Mhm.
where we could just kind of declare, maybe get a little bit of information about the Munis system and declare as a vote, as a board, that we want to go in that direction for that software. Is it-
That's why I was even thinking of some kind of a presentation for them so that we could see what Munis will do.
Sir, I mean, I'm qualified to give you the technical end of it. I am not qualified to give you the business end of a Munis overview. Not even a little bit, but certainly ahead of time, we can provide you with the quotes and the cut sheets and so forth that Tyler has provided us, so you can familiarize yourself with
Gave
it.
that. I think that was sent out.
I think the original, the one that Irene had put together.
Oh, yeah.
Who's
Um,
Tyler?
Tyler
the
is
name
the
of the
parent company
Ah.
that sells the Munis software package.
Can we get somebody? Do
I
you
can
want
ask.
somebody from there to come and talk to us, Ian?
I think that'd be great, and
Yeah,
I just
so-
like, I think it'd be great, if we could do that as a board, just to show that we're vigorously in support of that change.
Okay.
And we want to partner with the town on that change. I think that could help
Yeah.
maybe
I do
carry
too.
the CIP through and get that done.
Can I make a
Yes,
suggestion?
even if he does it on Zoom, not he, I don't know who it is. I keep getting confused with this Tyler.
He is a man, yes.
What were you gonna ask though? Were you gonna ask him something about that? Can you get somebody?
Yeah.
I will try.
And so we would want him to come to a COW meeting? Or a,
Well, we have a lot of these budget meetings too. I mean, you could even, if you zoom them in, I mean, depending.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, you
Just
can.
for discussion, does it make sense to do it here and then again at a joint Board of Ed Town Council meeting? Or does it make more sense to do this, working together to do this? If it's informational, I can certainly get that to you ahead of time and so forth. Just a suggestion.
Bev,
Go ahead.
I was thinking to ask, do you think it would be worthwhile to invite council or the mayor to send a representative or the whole board to be present for the presentation so that whoever was present could share with the community from their side as well as ours?
You want to talk to your counterpart?
I will, yeah.
See what
Again,
they think?
My
Because the
first-
town already has Munis, right?
Correct. They have it on premises, so they run their own Munis system locally.
But they would get an upgrade, so they might want to know.
They, just like we are getting pricing and information and what it would cost to transition, they are getting the same to take it from on premises to move it into the cloud. So the Board of Ed and the town would basically be meeting together in the cloud for a
And they would be
single
getting the
instance.
same version.
So we would
right?
be
The
all running on
upgraded
the
version.
same version, the same thing. Again, bifurcated town and Board of Ed,
Mhm.
but a single instance as opposed to us doing it separately, which would add more cost. And then there'd be more reconciling issues at the end.
And we don't want that
Right.
anymore.
So you can ask your counterpart what he thinks, but
What she thinks, yes.
what she thinks, sorry.
No
about
problem.
that. And if she thinks doing it
Yeah.
with the town council is good, but if not, we're gonna move ahead with the presentation.
Yeah, I want to be very open and transparent with them, because again, I say this at every call we have with them. I said, I represent the Board of Ed, getting more information and the superintendent, that's it. Not making any decisions for the town, but we're surfacing all the information on what it would look like and what it would cost for us to come together and do that.
Because I think the town already knows that we're looking at
Oh, yeah.
Munis system,
Yeah.
so it's no
Yeah, no, it's not-
surprise to them.
Yeah,
They know.
Yeah.
But I want to keep it transparent.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you.
Any other questions on the Christmas tree?
Jennifer has one.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Michael.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, sorry, I have a couple. So when the chiefs were here and town the town manager was here, they had mentioned like CIP for the cameras. Is that, I didn't see
It
it
is not on this list. Mr. Burt put a line in for us for cameras in the CIP
in his,
on his side.
on his
And
side.
he asked
Okay.
me to, by the end of February, get him a more detailed list. So I'm working with our camera vendor. I worked with the principals first after that meeting. We're calling it round 3. So we've done 2 rounds of cameras. So this is a 3rd round on those specific areas that they're most concerned about. I've compiled that round 3 list. Now I've asked our vendor that we've been working with, in the 3-layer cake to get me more information and pricing and so forth. So I've asked them to do it so that we can see as we add in each priority, if we drew the line here, what it would cost, if we drew it here, what it would cost and so forth.
Mhm.
So I'm working on that.
Okay, and then disaster recovery network, you had mentioned like our systems located in this building. Do
So
we
our
have like
main-
do we have a vendor that like we transfer data to, like,
So we have the main data center. Think of it as a hub and a spoke on
Yep.
a wagon wheel. So the hub is here.
Yep.
The data center, I'm happy to give you guys a tour if you would like. It's a little loud. But that is here. And then
Okay.
all the spokes of the wheels go off to each of the schools. We
okay,
have a disaster recovery site not located in this building, but
Okay.
in a Groton public school building. A
okay,
more modern one that has really good backup power and HVAC and so forth.
okay. Just making sure.
Sure.
And
It's
it's,
not at my house.
yeah. Yeah, no. So it's in the same town. Should we look at like another?
So that is why we do provide a third level of backup for disaster recovery, which we push to a cloud service provider.
Okay, just making sure that
And there are
we're not,
details as far as how often we run those and what it would take.
yeah, we
back
don't need
and-
to
yeah,
share.
yeah, I'm happy to.
Yeah.
offline.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure, when I heard you mention that. And then I had the question on the 100,000, but the 100,000 is in the business office budget. The 115 that we set aside last year,
For,
for Munis or
That's still
whatever,
business side.
the business.
yeah, if that's not in my budget.
It's not in your
I
budget.
think it's in the 25 business office.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm expecting the business office to come in 115,000 under budget. Or if it was utilized
I'll
somewhere
ask Ray
else.
to run a report on that and I'll find out where it is
Okay.
and what's left or that it's
You're
left.
expecting the wrong thing.
No, I know, but
What?
at least I'm making it like clear. I'm trying to identify if it got spent.
Yeah.
I have not spent.
No, I didn't say you. Beverly's like, no.
It's a great vacation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Good.
Yeah, no, we're all set. I just had those three
Cool.
questions. Thank you.
Mike, good.
Yeah, thank you. So, kind of two related questions. So with the Chromebook, so I think we're asking students or parents to pay, say, something like $20 a year.
$20.
20.
And then sort of almost as insurance. Over, say, from middle school to high school, if they were to stay in the system, that's seven years. So,
Mhm.
you know, that adds up. It doesn't add up to the price of Chromebook. So
Sure.
I think the price of Chromebook here was it about 500 by the time?
300.
Oh, so it's
300 plus, because whether you include a Google license or not, because we're a Google shop for all kids, so.
I always got the sense that the kids rotated them through in the middle school and
So,
then they
yeah,
got a
so
whole new batch when they went to the
We
high
do,
school.
new to them.
Different. batch.
I would love to do a new for all of them, and we can add that other line that says 234.13 that's in red, we can make that green if you'd like.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
So my line of asking is, I was wondering if some families might just want to pony up a little extra and get their kids the Chromebook, not using that guest network because they can't do the testing and things like that. And just kind of, you know, put in for it so that they can have maybe the exact same kind of Chromebook you would have, but new,
Yep.
for instance, and go for that because, I mean, maybe it doesn't last 7 years, middle school through high school, but I mean, I'm buying instruments. You know, like at that stage.
So if I may.
Yeah.
A couple things. One, I appreciate where you're going with your thinking, and I would like to do something like that. A couple of things that we have against us for that is one, making sure they last 7 years, although we have a lot of 7-year-old Chromebooks in service as of right now, and the kids are aware of that. Number two, I've been asked many times, well, can they pay extra and just keep it at the end of their senior year? Well, I have certain obligations to town statutes that say, you know, how we distribute equipment and so forth. So I don't think the Board of Education, and I could be wrong, so forgive me, but we're at liberty to decide that on what we do with town purchased equipment and
Plus
handing
it's
it off.
obsolete, right?
And then we have a specific process. We often do, you know, we post appropriately when we have old equipment that's obsolete and so forth. There's a process that we go through to sell it, to what have you. The other thing is from a management standpoint, very often a student will damage a Chromebook and they will not get the same one back.
Mhm.
We will have that put it in the pile to be fixed. And when we have time to go back and find parts to piece that together, and we have a new one that's ready to go to hand off, because we want to limit the amount of downtime
Yeah.
that's there.
You need
Again,
to know.
it's a good suggestion. We would have to work through some of those items.
But the money you might save on equipment, the purchase at the start might interrupt workflows and cause all different problems.
And,
Okay.
and that we do charge $20 per family per year. And there is, you can apply for financial aid on that.
All right, so that's my first question. Like I've been wondering that. My other one is, how much of this would have been covered on DoD supplemental in past years? I know we don't have that anymore, but to me, it
500,000
seems
per
like
year.
we're kind of,
About half a million.
But- yeah, so it is about 500,000, and then we're, up about, right about 500,000 in terms of the equipment line where most of this goes in. So is this a reflection that, we're taking something that we would have through years have been covering through a grant, that we no longer, right now at least, qualify for, and we're putting it into the school budget for
Did we
the.
put that in the narrative anywhere? I feel like that's familiar, like we
That-
should have put that. in the-
This is previously covered by Department of Defense
Yeah.
dollars. I don't believe so.
No, it's not in
We've
narrative.
talked about it, but I think you're right, Mike. We need to just come out and say it, that this was part of the DoD supplement. You could
Yeah.
actually put which lines you've earmarked.
And you've got like that early page with the blue bubbles going across the page.
The drivers.
Yeah, maybe I could find it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's in there.
Um,
It does say that in there, but I'm just saying where it's
We could put
relevant,
it
where
in
we're
that.
adding it to the operation
Right.
budget, I think it's really key to say it again here.
yeah,
Yeah, I think so too.
that's big.
Yeah.
Because it's a huge percent increase, of course,
You
right?
can actually give us the line items that are affected.
Yep, I would, if we are all in agreement that we want to continue with what I have in green, 2 through 12. I can assign those 2, 6 and 12, which again, I left as CIP because I wanted you to see where the conversation started with this. If this is how we're going to proceed, I would make sure those are inappropriate. There's 4 choices. Again, there's replacement and new instructional, replacement and new non-instructional. So those are our 4 choices if we bake that into the operating budget of IT, Board of Education budget.
Can you tell us how many of each of the, no, like laptop cases?
Yep, so
you tell me how many?
7,500, that will probably cover about 10%.
And I thought we had laptop cases, but now you're
So-
saying these are like shells on top of,
We,
like
in the
cladding.
past, Groton Public Schools has invested prior to me into sleeves.
yeah.
And it became a management job for staff and teachers and so forth to remind students to use the sleeves, put them in their backpack. And again, I'm not picking on any of our students or anything like that, but I'm very happy when it goes into a backpack in between classes. I think that's a big win as opposed to being held like this as we go down steps.
Yeah, yeah.
When I'm in the schools, which is quite often, I usually ask them politely, could you please stop and put that in your backpack? Thank you very much.
Now, these cases are permanently attached
Yeah.
to, oh, that's
And
great.
again, we've been able to pull some of those. I met a vendor at a conference years ago and have a relationship, so we got some discount pricing.
Okay.
And it's a very small amount. But it helps for those, we have a few usual suspects that are on their 5th or 6th Chromebook.
Mm.
and I need to protect it somehow.
Yeah, yeah. Is there a point where, you say you have a few suspects on their 5th or 6th? Is there a point where you say that's it? You gotta buy your own?
Well, I personally feel that it's, if I didn't bring a loose analogy, if you didn't bring your pencil for the 6th time, I'm not going to tell you, you can't not use a pencil in class anymore. So I feel it's our responsibility to provide them with tech regardless of their ability to maintain it and appropriately and so forth. So we do take certain measures to make sure that every student, as best we can, has a working Chromebook for their learning.
Well, they could keep it in class, but do they have to take it
We
home?
might do that sometimes. yes.
Okay.
But again, I don't want to penalize somebody that may have a homework assignment.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And we
You
are,
can't even go to the bathroom without a Chromebook.
Huh?
And you can't even go to the bathroom in the high school without a Chromebook.
Oh,
there's-
Now, because they have their little.
You have to
do
sign up,
system.
right? So.
Yeah.
so
they have to
you-
bring their Chromebook to the bath?
I don't believe.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, remember you have to sign
Every-
it or whatever.
necessary for everything.
That was
The middle
really good.
school wanted that.
Yeah.
The middle school wanted that same whatever you have at the high
Yeah,
school.
well, this is the first year it's high school, so
Oh, okay,
see how it goes.
all right. And-
Detention works.
Well, I've got something that's been aching me on this, and it's nothing to do with this particular thing, but
Matthew, put your.
I'm sorry. We have no idea what federal funding streams are going to be next year because there's lots of talk and lots of smoke, but we just don't know. But we may not, I'd be really surprised if we get everything that we're used to getting. And I don't know where we talk about developing a plan B or how we even talk about developing a plan B.
Matthew, can I stop you? Does this have to do with what Clint's talking about? If not, we can let Clint go.
Put it on the agenda.
No, I'm not gonna stop you, but I don't want to
Well,
hold Clint.
When I hear
He's
about
got a
her
lovely
talking,
wife to go home to.
she is a lovely wife.
Thank you. I
Um,
agree.
I don't know where the right time is, so I'll defer to your judgment. But, you know, as we talk about wanting to do X,
No,
Y,
no,
or Z,
first tell me, does this have to do with Clint?
it has to do with everything in
All
the
right,
budget.
Clint, see ya.
That's it.
That's it. See ya.
Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate the time.
Say hi to your bride.
All right, go ahead, Matthew. You could talk to us.
Okay. So I don't know what we should do, but I don't think we can put our heads in the sand and pretend that nothing's going on in Washington and that everything's going to be the same. How we do it, I turn to administration and I turn to whomever has ideas.
Well, that could be like a discussion when after Susan gives us a budget and then we
I'm
have.
fine. I'm fine with that. I just, every time I see, well, we're gonna, may have this, and we may have that, well, we did lose one through no fault of our own. It was an enrollment issue and we may lose others through no fault of our own too, and that worries me.
All right.
That's it.
That's it. All right, and that's the end.
I think we got
of-
to a really good place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do we have left? I've missed 2 meetings, so I'm kind of
So-
foggy on what we have.
I mean, there's a couple more I want to go through that, you know, there might be a couple other pages, like maybe a handful. But I think we're really ready to start having you all look at this.
What
and
did you
say-
do, maintenance?
Yeah, we already did.
Oh, you did maintenance?
Could we
Okay.
finish up? Could we
You did
finish
your
up tonight?
office?
We can't.
Don't
have athletics. The agenda.
Oh, yeah.
Athletics?
Yeah, Mark coming back, you're right. There's.
You did the
there's a-
superintendent's office? Okay, so we have to do the superintendent's office.
Let me just, see, 'cause I think I
Athletics.
wrote it down.
And student activities. Did you do transportation?
We did
Did
transportation. We have
transportation?
teaching and learning, so Anne Marie's gonna do that.
Okay, teaching and learning.
We
Did you
have-
do IB?
We have, yes, we did. We have Board of Ed and me, and admin,
Okay.
or admin, Board of Ed and superintendent.
Okay.
Um. And
You
then,
do improvement of instruction?
yeah, that goes with teaching and learning.
Okay.
Yep.
In the book, it was a different, I think.
Yeah,
I
but
got that.
they're, yes, side by side, but it's Anne Marie's piece.
Matthew, when we do improvement of instruction. So we can talk about closing that achievement gap.
Well, for it.
So is it realistic to be able to get all that done on Wednesday?
So,
Okay, we can get it all done, but promise not to ask any questions.
uh,
Just joking.
so also for Wednesday, though, I think it's really important to go through the green tab, which is the FTEs, like the basically for the whole part, because that had changed quite a bit. And so, but now we can say, you know, how many have been added or subtracted in teaching or paras, et cetera, et cetera. I think that for me, that really helps with the budget numbers in context.
The other thing I was gonna suggest is that principal's wish list, and I think I've sent that out to you all. I think you really need to take a close look at that. If you want me to resend it, I can, you know, even in your budget pack. And then I don't know, if-
Budget pack.
well, your board pack that you.
Ah.
I'm sorry.
Another
not I
budget.
know. But I'll put budget stuff in there. But just, I don't know if you need the principals to speak to it, if you want them on Zoom in any way, but you can certainly see they've kind of given it a green light for go. They've taken their priorities that they feel.
We could take a look at it, and if we need questions, we can have them come at a different date. Does anybody else have anything they want to talk about on Wednesday, Jen?
Not necessarily Wednesday. So if on Wednesday we're still going through, right? We all agreed that on the 10th, which would be our next meeting,
Mhm.
is to have like a public. But I don't think we would be ready yet, right? Because we as a board haven't even been able to dissect anything. We've been like in fire hose mode, but we haven't been able to say, hey, these are things we want to invest in. And these are things that we would potentially want to reduce, right?
Well, isn't the public hearing for the public to come and tell us what they're interested in? That's what
Okay.
the public hearing's about.
Okay,
Okay.
And then we have our 3 weeks or 2 weeks, 2 weeks at that point
Yeah.
to work our way through it and move numbers based on their input and our own assessment.
So next week with the 10th, 11th and 12th, we have, you have your.
Well, the 11th, we have it with the town
Joint,
council.
yeah.
It's not us.
Right.
It's just the 10th and the 12th, I think. That's a joint meeting.
That'll be at 5? Or will it be?
Annex.
Oh, I forget. I'll get back.
It's their normal meetings, I bet.
I think it's that
I'm
thing.
hearing two different things. It's a joint meeting, then we're convening inside their hall.
Yeah. But I'll call our group meeting together.
Mhm.
Rachel will do the town council. I'll adjourn. I'll continue on.
Okay, so how will the rules of order work? Who's,
The rules of order are,
we have
had this-
different times.
Yeah, each person will get to speak one time, 2 questions. Two, whatever you want to say, you say it 2 minutes. I'll get back to you on that. Because Rachel and I did talk about it.
Is the RTM Education Committee going for that too? Because they have been in that in the
Yeah,
past.
they're invited.
They've been invited.
They've been invited.
Okay.
I guess, I didn't invite them.
I didn't either.
Yeah,
I mean, is
We
that
can
a
invite them.
Bridgerton?
Yeah, they're always there.
yeah, we can invite them. We can invite them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll call Jackie. I think Jackie Massett's in charge. I'll call tomorrow morning. Yeah, so we have rules. I'll let you know the rules because we don't want to get bogged down. We just want it to be, this is where we are with our budget and that's it. When, we don't want to
So
get,
it's not a
like that.
presentation,
not
it's just a
it's It's
discussion,
just a
right?
discussion.
More of a hearing from the council to us.
No, we can say like, this is where we are on our budget. Whatever the percent of the increase is, we went over blah, 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 and then.
So we are gonna be publishing the new book on the website, but we wanted to have this conversation with you all just to make sure we've got the right thing
Yeah.
going on. So,
And we do have rules, but I'll email you the rules,
For sure.
okay? I'll-
so they can look at it digitally, but is there anything you think I should copy for them or? get
Happy
to
for
them?
who?
For the town council and the, no,
Nothing.
okay. But they can see
It's
it.
just it's just an
It's just-
informal discussion.
So
We shouldn't be there that long.
the last round of adjustments to this document, well, after
Overexperienced.
after we go through the last few ones. Because there were some notes being taken tonight, some
Mhm.
adjustments suggested.
Especially for the narrative.
Narratives.
I've got a
Yeah.
lot for the narrative.
Okay, so that new and improved version, I think that'd be version 4.
Who's counting?
Well, this is good though, it's generational. We're trying,
Fourth generation.
yeah,
Put a date on the cover page.
so
I've been
that,
trying.
so that would be
We
what,
just got the new dated one.
that would be the thing that we show to the public on the 10th. We basically would publish at the end of this coming week.
Right,
And then it would be available for the public to comment on the 10th. That would also be the document that we start to move numbers on. And it's also the same document that the town council and the RTM Education Committee will be reacting to on the 11th.
right. Well, they won't have the document, but they can get it online, but.
Right, it'll be online.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they'll have access.
And there's some of them are watching the meetings
I
too.
think before, I think I've either copied the presentation, but I think they've heard it probably way too many times already. I
Mm.
feel like Same presentation.
I must say, like every time I think, oh, we don't need the presentation because we've heard it. But at least a short version sort of directs the conversation.
Yeah.
It starts out with kind of a positive context that people tend to agree upon. And then the questions go their way, or someone asks your two questions in and they say, well, maybe I should just give the presentation.
Yeah.
You know,
So I'm open to that. If
Yeah.
you all think that there's, I mean, the challenge, the, you know, things we're responsible for, you know, that line sheet that we have and, you know, what the priorities are.
the elevator summary,
The
right?
elevators.
What about
Yeah.
not using the document and reading the document back to them, but just a 5-minute or 6-minute? Tough year, this is what challenges are, this is what we're working on. We're turned it over, it's now the board's budget, and now they have to go through with it. Real brief.
Executive summary.
The way you're,
Talk to
no,
you
I
about
always am.
All right,
Real
we
brief.
get it.
Yeah.
Let's get back to anything else you want on Wednesday. Speak now, forever hold your peace.
Or
I
if
just
you,
want to make sure we got all the loose pieces, all the last remnants are coming through on Wednesday. Like we would have touched every single function code and object code.
There's one, military education.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I forgot.
oh yeah, that's Terry Hinkle.
1091 and 1500, and then sports and student activities.
Is that the ROT?
Yeah. ROTC.
All right, good. Anything else?
Add that.
This is,
I got
That's it.
so Monday the 10th, we've got 6 PM public hearing, 7 PM work session. So if only 2 or 3 people were to speak, we might be like putting here until 7. So can the timing change on that? Because we can always start late, right? We just can't start late.
Can we say they're at meeting thereafter?
Yeah, you start them both at 6. That's the way to do it, right?
Yeah.
And then the other
I'm
one
just thinking
starts
as far
later.
as before we send out.
We usually will do that. I don't know why we split it up that way, but
I
we
think
usually
because
do it
people
like a
got confused.
colon and then just say followed by the budget work session.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I
I
think
can
people
do
were
it that
getting
way.
confused and that's why she did it.
But it's separate postings, right? That's the point. Like the hearing has one posting.
I don't know,
I think it has to, but
you think it.
yeah, because those hearings.
Because
go
the
on
hearing has to go
separately.
in the newspaper.
Yeah.
Start time for the budget workshop session.
Yeah.
No, but then people might think that we only allocated 15 minutes
So
to that.
public hearing, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But giving it an hour.
I'm saying.
About us not being able to actually.
Well, could we say 6:15?
Let's say budget meeting following the public hearing.
That's what I
a-
said.
That's it.
Followed
Okay,
by-
let's not make this complicated,
no.
folks. Anything
I've
else?
Done it lumped together like that before. It's not-
Adrian, last time to speak, you got anything you want to say? Because
On this.
Andrea's kicking me under the table. Mike?
Don't get.
I see you scratching your head. Matthew,
Have a wonderful evening.
okay,
I'm all
Yeah.
set.
okay. Ian, you lost your
So
turn.
there's public comment tomorrow night at the town council meeting. So anyone that's to speak in support of the Athletic Fields Task Force presentation, and especially the high school renovations of the fields and facilities. Tomorrow night, 6:30 at the Town Hall Annex is public comment, of the town council, and I would encourage anyone who wants to see those renovations occur, go up there and speak their piece.
I would, but I'll be with Susan, so I can't go.
We
But
have
anybody
those
else?
PTO meetings that we're.
I'm gonna speak now or forever.
Wait, Jay, you have anything, Jay, that we need to cover on Wednesday?
No, I think that takes care of it. You're doing the ROTC, right?
Right?
Because that's a new function this year.
Yeah.
Um,
I'll comb through the book and
Yeah,
make sure
I
we
think that-
tackled it all. I wrote them
I
all
think it's a
down.
good meeting tonight. It was
Excuse
a Very
me?
good meeting tonight. Thank you,
It
everybody.
was.
All right.
Thank you,
Jay.
everyone. I really appreciate
Now,
all your support.
On Wednesday, it might be a little longer.
I'll be home.
So, you'll be home?
Uh-huh.
Okay, because, we want to get through everything. So if we're here till 9:30, 10 o'clock, just, okay,
Always ready.
all right?
Motion to
Okay.
adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. by Dr. Ackerman, seconded by Mike Whitney. All those in favor? Thank you, everyone.
Aye.
Much appreciated.
Thank you, thank you.